Break ends in 5 seconds.
The idea about eating a bowl of Skyline chili, pie eating contest style with like your hands behind your back, that is just going to be an awful look. And that's going to live on the internet for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I'm kind of hoping I lose. And you know when a baby eats spaghetti and the spaghetti sauce gets all over it? I'm just picturing that.
Kids just like eat naked mostly for like the first several years of their life.
I have all these pictures of my two girls when they were young. It looks like they were just like bleeding from everywhere. It was just tomato sauce over their entire upper half.
It looks like a horror show.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Is it possible Bill Belichick gets left in Germany if the Patriots lose this weekend? Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We got a lot to get to today. It's Wednesday, which means great debate series continues. We've got college football playoff rankings to get to, but we start with this from the Boston Globe, this is like the Super Bowl apparently to the Crafts, and which is funny because they actually have won actual Super Bowls as owners of the Patriots, and that if Belichick loses, Perloff, that he could be shown the door in the bye week.
That is amazing to think. Arguably the greatest coach in NFL history is going to get fired after losing to the Colts in Germany. That is a scenario that I don't think 10 years ago we would have ever predicted. I saw the report and I said, no way they're going to do this. And I think there's a reason they won't do it because Robert Kraft, the owner, he's so worried about his legacy. He wants in the Hall of Fame so bad. Always thinks about that.
Yep.
This should be perceived as a joke if they did this. To fire the best coach ever, arguably in the midseason. Why? Why would you do this move? It makes no sense from a big picture standpoint to put Gerard Mayo or some assistant up there for 7 more games. What would you achieve? Like, what's the benefit to this? I don't understand what they'll get out of this.
Okay, this, in fact, makes a lot of sense. And yes, would it be received badly, or people would think it's tacky, or it's unbecoming of a coach of Belichick's stature? Well, what are the Patriots built on? They are built on a premise that you get rid of somebody a year too early rather than a year too late. And Belichick's been doing this for over 20 years. He's jettisoned players who were fan favorites. He's jettisoned players who were important to the organization. And he did it, and people understood, hey, Belichick must see something where this player's on the decline, and he's getting rid of them early before it's late. And how could he not think at someday it's going to come for him? He's made created an empire out of this, the Patriot way, the fear, the paranoia, all the things that come along with the Patriots. This is in part because Belichick is perceived as this mastermind. And the fact is simple. He's lost the fastball. The roster stinks. The team's not good. And they are more likely careening towards the number 1 overall pick than they are any kind of playoff situation. And so why wouldn't he think that at some point it's going to come for him, as he's done this to so many players in the past?
Right, but that's his motto. It's not necessarily Robert Kraft's motto. Robert Kraft was not down with the way the Tom Brady situation was handled. So I don't think Robert Kraft's going to pull a Bill Belichick on Bill Belichick. Why? Just to prove a point? You think Kraft's that mad? I think Kraft, and rightfully so, will be perceived as... this could be seriously ageist. I think it'll be perceived as he's lost his fastball if he fires him midseason. And also, where are they going if they fire him? What's the point here? What are you getting out of this?
So here's the point. At first, I think he might be shown as, wow, it's like this is someone who watched Bill Belichick and was permissive of Belichick doing this for all these years, right, including choosing Belichick over Brady in something that maybe they regret, but I don't know. And I think people would say, wow, like this was the Machiavellian part of this was not just Belichick. It's all the way to the top with Robert Kraft. And I think they would look at it as a proactive move. And one thing that I know is not very popular is interim head coaches, right? They rarely get the job. However, it's possible if it was anywhere, any franchise in the league that may have either A, decided who the successor was going to be like a year or a year and a half ago, I would think it's the Patriots. They're one of the most incestuous organizations in the entire NFL. So if you want to get a head start on Gerard Mayo, or you want to get a head start on Bill O'Brien or whatever, someone who's already in the building, then you get a head start and they can sort of get acclimated in a year where there's no pressure. This team sucks. There's no pressure, and you can sort of, I want to say fly under the radar because you'd be replacing Belichick, but there's so much more, there's games to be played. The world moves on, and no one's expecting you to win. So you can just sort of ease the boat in the water, if you will.
But has that ever happened, though? Not really. And the other thing is, how are you going to win some? You have one game that you could win here. You have the Giants after the bye. So much like the Raiders, the owner could say, "Ooh, I'm going to get Jerod Mayo an easy win here. Get an easy win here." But then it's probably
Tommy DeVito.
It's probably 0-5 in their next 5 games. Honestly, I don't even think Jerod Mayo turned down interviews this offseason because he wants a Patriots job. Why would you want this job next year, too? This is even going to be worse next year.
Well, I think you might be looking at a top pick quarterback.
Yeah, but you might be looking at 5. Yeah, who's he going to throw to? You're looking at 5 years of badness here. I think this is a franchise that's lost. So if you're lost, what's the point in making this gigantic statement of firing Bill Belichick and ruining the legacy of the entire thing? I think Kraft thinks like that, and I think even if he's tempted to do this, I think he's just saying, well, why am I going to do this and look like I have no control over this whole franchise and it's just careening out into nothing? And the Brady-Belichick years really didn't mean that much.
No. That's huge leaps you're taking, first of all. I don't think that this looks like it's careening and that you've, lost the way. Watching this team be this bad looks like someone's asleep at the wheel. And that's where I think this actually comes off as a proactive move. You're going to have shockwaves. You're going to have, people are going to be like, wow, I can't believe Belichick was fired in that way. But once you get past the shock value of it, which I think wears off pretty fast in our society, and especially sports, we move on to stories, one after the next, then you realize, hey, well, this isn't really the excellence that we had expected from New England all these years, and if Belichick, if the roles were reversed, wouldn't Belichick have gotten rid of, say he was the general manager and not the coach and general manager? I don't think he would accept this kind of mediocrity. So why would he expect Robert Kraft to keep accepting it?
Absolutely. And Belichick is clearly in huge trouble or gone in the offseason.
Sure.
I mean, we don't know. That's the offseason. This is such a radical move. Belichick wanted to move on from Tom Brady. He didn't do it mid-season.
Well, they can't trade Tom Brady at the trade deadline.
Why not? They could have. They traded Randy Moss.
Yeah, that's true.
But generally, though, all these guys, all the discontent Patriots, most of them just didn't get their contract renewed. Ironically, Bill Belichick apparently got a contract extension this summer too.
Yeah.
So there's that issue. I just think to do it mid-season is baffling to me. If he does do it, Tom Landry got kicked out famously by Jerry Jones at the end of the season. Even that is a radical move to fire Bill Belichick. But to do it mid-season, that really says it's like Josh McDaniels. We think you're doing an awful job, and we have to rip the Band-Aid now. I don't know why they would take such a radical step. Listen, it doesn't make any sense, big picture to me.
Because a couple other things why it would make sense. You get a little bit of the cover from the season. Like Josh McDaniels gets fired, it's a big story, but we have games to get to. The season goes on, the storylines go on, and in some ways I think it gives you this weird sort of cover, not in Boston, but everywhere else. And then secondly, because Belichick is such a huge part of not just the coaching, he obviously the coach, but the front office, I think it's time, if you're going to get him out of the building and you're going to get ready for the draft combine happens, 2 weeks after the Super Bowl? Yeah. And then you're into draft season, and now you're potentially making a huge decision on who the next quarterback is going to be and getting that person some weapons and rebuilding this Patriots offense. You got to get that person in place. You've got to make sure that person has the respect of everyone in the building. This is a huge sea change moving on. You don't make those changes, and then all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, you've got to be having your draft discussions, like who's going to be the general manager, who's the person who's actually going to make personnel decisions. Get those people in the building now and get them comfortable in their positions now. Maybe not in the building, but get them comfortable in their positions so your draft can go as smoothly as possible.
Well, but we already know they're going to bring in the same guys that are always there. It isn't the standard way to hire a guy the first week of January and let him do it then. I don't know that. Is there ever a GM who came in November just so he could get a jump on the draft? That doesn't make any sense.
I think it does because, again, it's not just you're moving on from a coach or a general manager. You're moving on from the coach and the general manager who's been doing it one way for over 20 years.
I think 99% of the time they hire the GM in the offseason. Why Patriots are going to buck the entire system? Like, we got to get you in here in November so you can scout Michael Penix? That's ridiculous. First of all, we know who they're hiring. I mean, I don't actually.
Well, Nick Caserio is in Houston, and they're actually winning games, so he might not be available.
Okay, well, they're going to hire some
Scott
Caserio.
Pioli. I mean,
they're going to hire somebody. They're not going to bring in somebody radically new. If they do, I actually would be impressed. But I think they're just going to keep it in the family. It'll be Mayo or Vrabel or Josh McDaniels will be the coach next year. By the way, would that be funny? Because we had a bet yesterday if McDaniels would ever coach again.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Robert Kraft is 82 years old. Does he get another Super Bowl? I think it's unlikely. I'm not sure what he does here. So I'm not sure what's the point of doing this deal.
Listen,
so you can bring in Gerard Mayo to coach the worst roster in the AFC for a couple weeks. And then next year, look at a team that's probably going to win 5 games. It's a tough spot.
I like it as a move. I think it'd be inspired because, yes, get Gerard Mayo. If he indeed he is the guy, get him in and low pressure, as low as it will ever be.
Probably kill the Giants in their first game because anybody could beat Tommy DeVito.
It's tough for the Giants right now. And low pressure where you're not expected to do anything and you can get your feet wet. Listen, for as much as Gerard Mayo was a great player and all of that, he's still on the depth chart of the Patriots coaches. He's linebackers coach. Like, he's not even the defensive coordinator. So it's a big jump from going linebackers coach to head coach and taking over for Belichick. Like, get comfortable on the headset. You know what I'm saying?
Or you might want somebody to take the bullets this year. You don't want Gerard Mayo to lose out because you want that top draft pick. Yeah. So maybe you put in, I don't know, Stephen Belichick. Put in Bill O'Brien as a head coach.
Kid Belichick's out the door with Big Bill.
Even if I was going to fire Belichick, I'd put in Bill O'Brien. I don't want Gerard Mayo, who's the future coach, to lose 7 games here. And I definitely don't want him to win 2 or 3 games. They have the Giants and the Jets on their schedule, so that could be 2 wins that could knock them out of a quarterback, which would be problematic. I just don't see this happening. I know Ben Volin's reporting is often very good. This seems like, yes, there's a chance they fire him. There's a chance anything could happen. It is such a radical move for Robert Kraft's legacy to fire Bill Belichick midseason. I cannot see one possible good reason to do it.
The Belichick, Brady, Kraft, that stuff is all set in stone, guys. Like, it's set in stone. They're all going to walk into the Hall of Fame. Kraft will get there. He definitely will. I know he's 82. He'll get in. Belichick, of course, is going to get in. Brady, they would waive the rules right now. If they could put Brady in tomorrow, they would do it and not even have the 5-year retirement window. These guys, nothing, like, we can talk about the end and the egos and all of that, but at the end of the day, they're going to be remembered as the dynasty of the 2000s. And firing Bill Belichick midseason or not, there's nothing they can do to change that.
Bill Belichick's actually quite popular around the NFL. Why would Robert Kraft make a huge enemy out of Bill Belichick here? I
don't think he will. I think when the dust settles, everyone's going to remember the good old days.
I don't think Bill Belichick takes very kindly to getting fired in Week 11. That's sort of things that happen to Bears coaches and Arizona Cardinals
Raiders,
coaches.
Yeah.
I think that would cause a rift that is just completely unnecessary. There's no need. Just fire him at the end of the season. Nothing's happening here. Why tarnish everything you built together and create this?
I don't think it will.
Fraction? I think it will big time. I don't think Belichick comes back to New England if he gets fired midseason. First of all, I'm thinking Belichick and the Jets. Yeah, Belichick has no problem.
He will hold a grudge.
He has no problem holding a grudge against a franchise. You're creating a grudge out of nowhere. Now, I'm not saying it definitely won't happen because, yes, it does seem like Robert Kraft is furious at the way this is going, but it is a totally unnecessary move. Honestly, keep Belichick, lose out, and then move on and get this top quarterback. That's it. Isn't that a better plan, Maggie? What would you do if you were Robert Kraft?
Can I just read this from the Ben Volin article? Because you say that I'm like, my nickname around here, Machiavellian Maggie. I'm always thinking there's an angle. My eyebrows always raised. I'm skeptical on everything and everybody. Here is a line. The Patriots have morphed into a veritable Game of Thrones with several people battling for control of the organization and Belichick trying to hold on as long as he can. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes me have these sort of conspiracies and what's this all about? And it's about ego and power and, who's going to be left on the throne at the very end. And when it comes to the Patriots, the person who's left on the throne, whether we want to, care about it or not, is always going to be Kraft. And he would make this decision.
Well, yeah, and his son is in the picture too as well.
His son, who's going to take.
Just imagine taking over this team, and next year you have a rookie quarterback, and you don't even have Caleb Williams because they're not going to get him throwing to. Let's look at their old wide receiver depth chart here.
Don't do it.
Devontae Parker,
chart.
someone named Demario Douglas, Juju if he comes back, who can't stay on the field, Hunter Henry. This is a very, very thin offense. Their defense is still good, but Judon is the MVP of that defense, and he got hurt this year. He's getting older. This is a dire situation.
Right, which is why they need someone to come fix it, because this is Belichick's dire situation. He created this.
They need a GM to come fix it. They don't need this poor coach who takes over this job. Plus, the AFC is so stacked right now. If I'm Gerard Mayo, I don't know why you're turning down other interviews. Get the heck out of there.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, EJ, I think it's, the question, would it be in bad taste? Bad form, something like that.
How about would it tarnish Robert Kraft's legacy if he fired Bill Belichick midseason?
Or would it tarnish the Patriots? Maybe, I don't know if people care about Kraft. He's the major player, but would it tarnish the Patriots? Yeah, or Kraft. We'll workshop this. It's what we call an on-air production meeting.
Yeah, love it.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We say good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in our veritable chats. That is youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. Again, a lot to do today. It is a great debate Wednesday. We get to that coming up. I feel like I say this every day. Another twist in the Michigan sign stealing scandal.
Yeah.
This one is stupider than the next.
It is amazing how they keep evolving this story. A screenwriter would have no chance because you
keep
could
up.
predict any of this craziness.
Some of it is just so intensely stupid. We're delving into that territory. We'll get to the latest. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Okay, here are my two favorite things in college football, Maggie. Not the big games, not the tailgate, not the atmosphere. I love awkwardness anytime any playoff committee or anyone has to make an impossible decision and how they try to rationalize it after they walk out of the room with no rationale. I like that. And I also like when they completely expose their hypocrisy. So, because it is a sport built on hypocrisy, the players don't get paid. It's been 100 years of just lying.
Yes.
So that's why
this is what you like about the sport.
I love the awkwardness. I love when the guy comes out and says, well, this is why we put the huge brand at number 4 and the lesser brand at number 5. This Michigan scandal has all that times 1,000. There's nothing but awkwardness and weirdness and new details that you can't believe one after the next. This is causing such a headache for the Big Ten, such a headache for the NCAA. Honestly, I don't even feel bad for Michigan. Is probably enjoying it at this point because it's getting so crazy. How the NCAA and the Big Ten deal with this scandal, when you hear these things about Connor Stallions, the staffer who was stealing signs, they must be pulling their hair out right now trying to figure out all this. Like, what do you do? How do you handle this?
Well, let's get to our MAIZE and clue for the day.
I got a one-track mind. I'm not going to be speculating. Can let others speculate that.
It's time for MAIZE and Clue.
This is where we try to keep track on all the latest twists and turns of the scandal.
They're unbelievable.
Yesterday, we found out that Connor Stallions, the man in the middle of this sign-stealing scandal, who had at one point deputized 65 other people to go and scout future Michigan opponents, which is quite a web. Turns out he was also had a side business where he was repairing vacuum cleaners. And he left all the defunct vacuum cleaners on his front porch.
That's a bad look. The story said he had all these old vacuum cleaners on his front porch.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that he was actually fixing them for money. Otherwise, he looks like a crazy old guy.
Yeah, like a hoarder or something. This wasn't just for decoration. Apparently, he was fixing old vacuum cleaners and selling them online.
I think
Whatever gets you through the day.
I think that's admirable. And he's obviously very handy.
This is a small business owner.
There's a reason he got in on this Michigan staff. Resourceful man.
No doubt. Can fix a vacuum cleaner at Jim Harbaugh's house. So today we find out that he had opened, Stallions that is, had opened a limited liability company, an LLC, if you will, which, is creates different tax implications for things you buy and for his small business. And they called the LLC BC2. Yes, BC2 Housing LLC. He bought his house under this. Now, why we care or we are saying this at all is because BC2 stands for Blake Corum, the star running back from the University of Michigan, was apparently in some kind of business deal with Connor Stallion. So this guy is not some anonymous low-level staffer. He is in a limited liability company with Blake Corum, and Corum said he had never heard of this before. This is the first time he had heard of any kind of business dealing. And then EJ showed us an Instagram post where Blake Corum is posing in front of this ridiculous-looking sports car and says, I need to get an LLC, hashtag BC2. Now, Machiavellian mind here. Maybe Stallion saw the post and opened up an LLC with that name without Corum knowing about it? I don't know, but this is so silly and crazy.
Let me ask you a question.
Weird.
Of all the things he did, this has nothing to do with the actual case, though.
No, this is just weird.
Yeah. This is just, to me, the more interesting thing is the vacuum cleaners. Like,
yeah.
Is this guy, I think all this helps Jim Harbaugh in a sense. The vacuum cleaners, the LLC, he sounds like a kind of a psycho. So maybe Jim Harbaugh did not know about this, and this guy was really rogue. Because if he could go rogue on this LLC, can't he go rogue on sign stealing?
Well, in theory, yes, but how, like, Jim Harbaugh had no idea the guy's flying around the country, buying tickets, coming up with these signs, standing 5 feet away from him on the sideline. He had no clue when Harbaugh's, in theory, benefiting from all the advanced scouting that this dude was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't pass the smell test.
No, you're right. And we both know Harbaugh had to know about this. But that being said, I'm not sure Harbaugh knew the extent. Maybe he didn't know the 65. He's definitely going to have some sort of legal case saying, prove that I knew about this. And it's kind of hard to prove.
I don't think they have evidence right now like a documented evidence, smoking gun, if you will, that puts Jim Harbaugh knowing that Connor Stallions was crisscrossing the country. Right.
Don't you need an email? So my question is, if they don't have that smoking gun, can they suspend Jim Harbaugh for the rest of the season right now? Don't they need to do a bigger long-term investigation instead of a short-term, hey, we all know this is happening, but that might not be enough to actually execute the punishment?
Well, I think you have coaches who have faced really big penalties and implications even when there wasn't a smoking gun.
But I think in season?
Maybe not in season, but I do think of like Rick Pitino, for example. He claims up and down he had no idea that there may have been, sex workers, strippers coming into the dorms, blah, 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 guys getting paid. Nobody believed that Rick Pitino didn't know about that. So he does get a penalty and punished, even though there was no smoking gun that was connecting him to any of that scandal. This is all about sportsmanship now. Yeah. Now that's where it's gone to with the Big Ten as a sportsmanship clause, and whether the Big Ten commissioner can act unilaterally and just suspend him for a couple games because he was breaking the rules.
So here's my problem with that whole sportsmanship thing.
Yeah.
There was some people in the media and other people who said that Michigan should be kicked out of the Final Four, maybe kicked out of the Big Ten title game. I wonder if other schools are doing this. I mean, you're telling me that no other schools send advanced scouts physically to other. Auburn and Alabama are 2 hours away. You're saying no Alabama staffer has ever gone to an Auburn game? Okay. That's unthinkable to me. So if you're going to really come down on them, then you got to make sure all the other Big Ten teams are within the same realm of sportsmanship, that no one else is breaking this rule.
Listen, that's for another day.
Why is that for another? So why is today to fire Jim Harbaugh, to suspend Jim Harbaugh? How could it be for another day?
Because right now, they're the ones who are getting caught. If it comes to light that other teams were doing it, then you deal with those other teams. You have to do it almost one thing at a time. It can't be whataboutism, which is, well, he was doing it, we think, and we don't know yet, but we think that maybe Illinois was doing it too, so therefore we can't punish Jim Harbaugh. The NCAA has never worked like that.
But
ever.
The fact that Ohio State had the signs for the 2022 game, that's a problem for the league. So whether they were obtained legally or illegally, it doesn't feel quite sportsmanship-like to share signs of the opposing team within the Big Ten.
Right, so we got to back that up, right?
Yeah. So basically, somebody who works at a Big Ten school showed Michigan that other schools had their signs. Right. There was a sheet out, and you could see a picture of the sheet with all the hand signs and the plays.
Yep.
So they had been scouting Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah, they've been scouting Michigan's sign, and they gave it to Ohio State, Purdue, and Rutgers. Forget Purdue and Rutgers. They're not part of this. Ohio State had Michigan's defensive and offensive calls. Now, the reporting is that it was done legally on video.
Basically, looking at tape, the TV broadcast, and obtaining the signs by simply putting 10 to 12 hours of work in, scouring the TV broadcast to try to steal their signs.
Right,
That's not illegal.
Which also Michigan, I'm sure they
does
did that
too.
Yeah. So, but is it sportsmanship-like to have another Big Ten team give you Michigan signs? I feel like people are mad at Michigan and saying, "Oh, you're a fake team. You never would have won these games without these signs." That's the bottom. That's the most core issue.
I don't know if it's that you never would have won. I think it's that you definitely had an advantage that other teams did, and that you went above and beyond and broke the rules.
But obviously now the other teams have that advantage too, because you saw all the sides. So I think it helps Michigan because it waters down this idea that they were only winning because of the signs.
See, I think this only muddies the waters just a little bit, but is not enough to spare Michigan some penalties. And I think that when I say spare Michigan, I mean Jim Harbaugh. I don't think they're actually going to do anything to the team. I don't think they're going to take him out of the Big Ten title game. I don't think they're going to keep him out of the college football playoff. It's just going to be about Harbaugh. I think the buck stops with him. And even if he didn't know, he should have known. And he's going to get suspension.
Well, I think if they do suspend him for Penn State and Ohio State and whatever's after that in the playoffs, if they make I think Michigan will say, we're going to burn it all down. And I think the Big Ten is aware of that, and I think they're going to be cautious for this very reason. This is a big deal to suspend the coach of the number three team in the country, according to CFB, but number 2 in the AP. I think they got to be careful. They got to think of the repercussions. If you're the Big Ten commissioner, do you really want to bring this on, all this trouble? Suspending Jim Harbaugh is going to cause a lot of problems moving forward.
But here's the thing. Does it cause more problems with the rest of your constituency to put your head in the sand and do nothing? Because you clearly behind the scenes, there are teams who don't care if you go rooting around in their garbage because they're begging the commissioner to suspend Harbaugh.
No. There's not a college football program in the nation that doesn't have something rooting. If you root around in anybody's garbage, you're going to find something. And I guarantee if you root around in Ohio State's garbage, you're going to find millions of things.
Okay, but I don't know if Ohio State is one who's calling for Harbaugh to be suspended, but the other Big Ten athletic directors and coaches want a pound of flesh here. Do you think they would do that knowing that their program is dirty? No.
So if you're the Big Ten commissioner and the Rutgers AD comes up to you and says, I want you to suspend Michigan, do you care? This is about Ohio State and Michigan. Everybody else is irrelevant in the story. Ohio State better have their ducks in a row if Jim Harbaugh gets suspended, because Jim Harbaugh, the dude will hire a Marine to go out and scout teams. You don't think he's going to come after that program with all he has?
Maybe that pipeline should probably. Now, I'm not saying that he should never hire a former Marine. I love working with people who served in the military. It's great because great work ethic, organized, all the amazing qualities, but problem solver. But for now, maybe I have to chill.
I mean, Ohio State, is this confirmed that they hired an investigative firm to start this whole thing?
That is not confirmed.
That's not confirmed. But regardless, Michigan just hired detectives and said, you know what, if Ohio State's going to come after us, we're going to get you with all we have. I think that's what's so great about this. This is just the beginning of this scandal in so many ways, Maggie.
Man, the private eye community is about to get a big boost. This is like the lawyers who get a big bump whenever there's a scandal. I imagine the private investigator, profession.
Well, that's why the Big Ten and the NCAA don't want to do anything. They wanted to go away. They want to put their head in the sands because you don't want an angry Michigan. I don't, at least. If I'm them, I would say, we're going to look at it in the offseason and then give them 5 games against Troy State next year and all that.
Private investigator, I think, is one of those professions that sounds really cool. Sounds awesome. But then when you really get down to it, it's probably got to be kind of boring, right?
I would never want to be a private investigator, ever. Well, that feels like the worst job to me.
It's just, you're basically probably staking out a lot of cheating husbands, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to deal with that.
Well, if you're getting paid.
Crimes of passions of love that you may be getting involved in the crossfire of that? No thanks.
This is my problem. If I was a private investigator, I'd be terrible at it, and here's why. I can't do like a stakeout because I'd drink a large coffee, and then I'd have to go to the potty, and then I'd probably miss the person walking out with the lipstick on the collar. and I'd fail at this.
Look, I watched Jessica Jones on Netflix, and I saw how her life fell apart. I think that was all I needed to see about the life of a private investigator. It is not fun.
I wonder if the whole job has changed, because do you really need to stake out anymore when you have
The internet?
You have the internet.
Like a Ring camera?
Yeah, I would assume most private investigations have gone online, and you can basically go into somebody's Instagram mentions and find out. So I wonder if the stakeout still exists like it used to.
I'll have to dive into that. Andrew Bogish is here with some headlines. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Those headlines sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Insurance, insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. I'll discuss the actual Michigan football team. It remains third in the CFP rankings, behind Ohio State and Georgia, ahead of FSU. The top 8 unchanged this week. CFP chairperson Boo Corrigan said last night, any potential punishment of the Wolverines is not the committee's concern. They simply judge those who are eligible to play. Rick Pitino debuted as St. John's head coach last night. It went fairly well, not surprisingly, against Stony Brook.
Dingle for 3 on the right. No good off back iron. Rebound comes to Ledlin. Feeds to that. Here's a 3-point by Soriano. Joel Soriano with his first career 3. And St. John's goes up by 20. Timeout, Stony Brook.
Oh, shout out John Minko.
Yes,
I love it.
Our good friends John Minko, Brandon Tierney on Learfield. Joel Soriano, 22 points, 11 boards in a 90-74 win for Pitino at Carnesecca Arena.
I coached against Louis, which means Louis's a little bit older than me, a little bit, and we're both old. So it's wonderful.
That's Pitino postgame on FS1.
He's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Lou Carnesecca, how old is he?
He might be 98. I don't know that he got to 100 yet, but he's close enough.
Lou Carnesecca is 98.
He's 98. Amazing. Good for him.
In top 25 action last night, number 8 Creighton drilled 18 threes to drill Florida A&M 105-54, and number 20 Baylor fought off Auburn 88-82 in a game played in Sioux Falls. And Bill Self has a new 5-year agreement at Kansas. It reportedly makes him the highest paid coach in the men's game, scheduled to make $53 million over these 5 seasons, including $13 million for this campaign alone. Get out your oversized framed SI covers. Carson Wentz is back in the NFL.
We have the shards of it back in our office. Should we bring it out today?
The shards of Carson Wentz signed with the Rams yesterday. He'll back up Matthew Stafford, whom LA hopes is back from that thumb injury after this week's bye. Brett Rippon was waived yesterday. Wentz has been home since the
Commanders
released him back in February. The Titans say Will Levis is their starting QB for the rest of the season. A busy night on ice. The Sharks beat the Flyers 2-1, avoiding the worst start in NHL history. San Jose lost its first 11 games. The Penguins blanked the Ducks 2-0 to snap Anaheim's 6-game win streak. The Wild a 4-2 win at the Islanders, and the Coyotes left standing after a shootout with the Kraken 4-3, so no funnel cakes in Seattle last night. And the MLS playoffs chug along. Orlando City got a 2-game sweep of Nashville SC 1-0. But Columbus fell at Atlanta United 4-2, so they'll play a decisive third game in Ohio on Sunday.
Okay.
Guys, back to you.
Yep.
So what has to happen here with Carson Wentz for me to bring back Carson's Corner, which was an idea we had to do a corner of the studio with all things Carson.
Wait,
Carson
what do you
Daly.
mean we? Hey, this was a you initiative.
It caught some fire because it's a good alliteration, Carson's Corner, and different Carsons, Johnny Carson, Carson Daly, Carson Wentz. If he throws 3 touchdowns in a game, Carson's Corner is on.
Listen, you do what you want with your corner, but I'm a staunch no on the Carson's Corner.
You do what you want. You actually took a hammer to my Carson Wentz poster.
And a baseball bat. Well, that ended up being for charity.
Okay.
After the fact. But for new Weedos and coffee drinkers, this was an initiative where Perloff had this massive blown-up SI cover of Carson Wentz in an Eagles jersey, and we thought it's bringing bad mojo to the studio. DA didn't like it. You guys hated it.
Nobody liked it.
Zach Gelb didn't like it. People who we share the studio with didn't like it. So we said, well, if we get a certain number of YouTube subscribers, we'll destroy the Carson Wentz poster on the air. And we did, and we did, and we did.
Well, I think you're going to have to fire up the old YouTube machine again because I'm bringing some Carson stuff back. If Carson Wentz does well. And ironically, I'm not a huge Carson Wentz fan by any means, but I do like annoying Maggie with stuff around the studio.
It's funny. I had no thoughts on Carson Wentz until it became like a calling card of the show, and then we had to destroy him.
I mean, Sean McVay basically got Baker Mayfield a starting job this year. Carson Wentz could be back in this very same scenario where, I mean, Sean McVay is the ultimate quarterback coach. Carson Wentz has talent. I'm worried for you guys that Carson Wentz might have a second life in his, or actually now his fourth life in his NFL career.
Second life.
Carson Wentz is coming back, and I think we need to decorate the studio.
I said anyone, Johnny Carson, Carson Wentz, Carson Presley, all those people.
Harry Carson,
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer's fine. Was in the studio. We had Carson Palmer in the studio. Nobody was excited for the actual Carson Palmer as to destroy the Carson Wentz poster. No more Wentz. That's why I have to put my foot down.
First of all, the only reason I had that poster here was originally I had it in my apartment, and I got rid of it because Carson Wentz fell apart his career. Then I gave it to my parents in Philadelphia, and they're like, we can't have this either. So I'm like, where can I pawn off this Carson Wentz poster? No one's going to notice if it's in the studio, but people notice. Because every time
the biggest thing in here.
Yeah, I know. Every time it took over other people's shows, that's when we really got in trouble. That's why, Maggie, you should get on board. We should make the Maggie and Perloff imprint on this entire building. We should put Carson Wentz stuff everywhere just because it gets people are like, why is that bobblehead of Carson Wentz sitting on my desk?
No, I don't want to be associated with a loser. That's why.
Carson Wentz isn't a loser. I mean,
he's lost a lot of games and he's lost a few locker rooms. When Jim Irsay is shipping your ass out of town, you got some issues.
Right.
I can't get behind Wentz, but just as an update, I still am getting not only handwritten notes, but emails, thank you emails from the North Dakota Boys and Girls Club, who we donated to all the boys and girls clubs in different cities where Carson Wentz had played, just to kind of balance the karma of destroying the poster. I'm basically on the board of the Indianapolis Boys and Girls Club at this point.
I think it's funny. Carson Wentz, not a loser in his career. He's 46, 46, and 1.
And that's perfect.
He's perfectly mediocre.
He's perfectly mediocre. So awesome. His next game, if he gets a start this year, then his whole legacy hangs in the balance. He could go to 47, 46, and 1. Then he's back.
No, he should not want to start because you don't want to fall under 500.
If he wins a game, Carson's corner is fully on. And I'm telling you, Sean McVay is going to fix this guy. I don't understand why it's week 9 before. You guys, there's some Jets fans here. Was Carson Wentz really worse than what you have right now? Is he that bad of a quarterback?
Nothing's worse than what the Jets have.
I would have taken Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I would have taken him.
EJ, you take Manny to start.
That's true. Right, exactly. It doesn't say much about Carson Wentz. It says a lot more about Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I know people have character questions about Carson Wentz, and I don't think we all know the whole story, but I don't care how bad his character is. If he's not out there fixing vacuums and I'm not sure what bad character is. Carson Wentz can't be that bad in the locker room.
You have guys with actual rap sheets who are welcome back with open arms. Carson Wentz, nah, you put on different music in the locker room. You got to get the hell out of here.
In the weight room. It's the way, you put on country music in the weight room. Honestly, I think this is going to be a bizarre career redemption here. I'm going to laugh so hard at this. If he's good, that's going to be wonderful.
There's no chance he's going to be good, by the way.
It's the Rams. He's got
chance.
Cooper. If he gets on the field with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Sean McVay, he's got a chance, EJ.
They just lost by 2 scores to crappy Green Bay.
Because of Brett Rippon, who they got rid of, and in comes Carson.
Yeah.
The Jets have lived a life of Zach Wilson.
A real who's who.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You have to admit, it does make you think twice. This is the one situation that actually could work for Carson Wentz.
No, it won't.
Why didn't the Colts work? Why didn't the Commanders
27
work?
touchdowns and 7 picks. I'll tell you why
they hated him.
They hated him.
Yeah, I know, but look at the Colts. And then the Commanders. Look at the Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders, nobody ends there. Nobody ends, better. Nobody comes out of the Commanders better than when they came in.
You don't go to take over the Commander's job because things are going well in your quarterback life. That is a last-ditch effort.
Okay, thank you, Andrew Bogish. Awesome. Coming up, Jerry Jones talking about Dak Prescott. We have it for you. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. It is Wednesday. We'll do a great debate series a little bit later on in the show, inspired by the news of the week. Let's get to our Cowboy Quickie, shall we? Another day, another time when Jerry Jones is speaking into a microphone. This time, 105.3 The Fan, his weekly appearance. Jerry said if Dak continues to play like he did against Philadelphia, the Cowboys are going straight to the Super Bowl.
It was outstanding, the game that he played. We should be able to get there if Dak will play games like that. Now, I know that's maybe a little different thing to hear from me. But if Dak can have those kinds of games, I think, get where we want to be this year.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. That kind of game came down to, what? 2 plays, basically.
Yeah.
A couple plays here and there, which is what these playoff games generally come down to. And right now, so far, in a tight game in the playoffs, we have not been able to see Dak Prescott win one of those big games. So I don't believe Jerry here.
Wow. If you get that kind of game against that kind of pressure from Dak Prescott, you are going to win a lot of football games. He was unbelievable.
Getting to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, if you got that game from Dak Prescott on a neutral field, yeah, you could easily get the Super Bowl. But first of all, you're not. That game, he was on a heater on Sunday. Good. And he seems to play really well against the Eagles. Yeah, if you got that game against the Niners, that kind of production, Cowboys are going to beat them by 2 touchdowns because the Cowboys are built to win with defense. So no one thought Dak Prescott's going to have to throw for 350 yards and be perfect with 3 touchdowns and no picks. You get that from Dak Prescott, then Micah Parsons starts going downhill and you win that game. The problem with the Cowboys was defense on Sunday, not offense. Their offense was great.
But if you're a team that's built to win with defense, then you're not a team that's paying your quarterback $45 million. Like, that's the thing. You are expecting Dak to make the good plays.
And he made a million good plays.
And you had 1st and goal at the 6 and couldn't punch it in. And that's what these things come down to. It's like, of course, Dak played excellent in that game. He kept them in the game in a lot of ways. But in the moment when they needed him, wasn't there, and all of a sudden you're getting backed up because of penalties and some other things, delay a game, taking a bad sack, a million ways that the Cowboys have lost games like this, they lost another one.
Well, I mean, Dak, I keep saying 21 seconds left, no timeouts. Your playbook's very limited because you can't get tackled in the field. So it was a tough spot for the Cowboys. They got from the 14-yard line in 45 seconds in no time whatsoever. Dak gets some credit for that. I know his penalties, but he also made a sick throw to help them.
He did make a sick throw, but that was Eagles imploding before our very eyes. They get flagged for 3 penalties.
The real problem with Dak on Sunday,
that drive, yeah.
The real problem was not his quality of play. He took massive, massive hits. It's always been the problem with Dak. When Dak moves his legs, the Cowboys are incredibly effective, but he's an injury risk. We've seen it year after year. He got flipped on his head like John Elway in the Super Bowl, landed on his head, and then there was another sack where he probably had a concussion. He can't take that kind of punishment. But if you get 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, with that defense, you don't think that's a Super Bowl team? And you picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
That's your Cowboy Quickie.
Yeah. you wouldn't take that Dak Prescott game in the playoffs?
Well, the reason why I picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl is because I thought they were going to run the ball more. And I know what I'm getting with Prescott. And yeah, he can put up these really gaudy numbers. Yeah. And to his credit, not turning the ball over, right? This is something they made a conscious effort. They wanted to limit the turnovers, and he's done a fine job of that. But ask me if I feel confident if the Cowboys down by 5 that they need a score on the road in the playoffs, or at home for that matter, that they need a score when things aren't perfect, because you know Mike McCarthy's going to blow your timeouts. So you know you're not going to be working with that, because this is the Mike McCarthy way. You know?
This
wasn't him.
Yeah, he kind of had to limit the Eagles chewing at the clock, but right.
Yes, but he's like you're not going to get your super advantage here with McCarthy. So at some point, it's going to be imperfect, where you're probably going to have a minute or less. You're going to have no timeouts or something of that, and you're of that nature, and you're going to have to try to win the game. And Dak has not been able to do that so far.
Why can't you be leading this game? Because your defense shows up and stops the other quarterback from doing whatever he wants for most of the game. The only reason the Eagles didn't score more points is because at the end, they were just trying to hold on to their lead. The defense was shockingly ineffective. Was Micah Parsons even on the field? He had 1 tackle for loss.
Okay, but here's the thing. You say shockingly ineffective. The last 3 drives for the Eagles were 3 and outs.
Right, because they were just trying to kill the clock. They couldn't open up their offense. They couldn't pass the ball. They weren't going to, they did pass the ball. They got killed on 3rd and 3. But generally, I think that they wanted to play very conservative. When it mattered, Jalen Hurts, even on one leg, came out there and did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, but it was a one-score game. Like, you can't say you're trying to salt the game away when it's a one-score game against a very good team. Like, I think that was the Cowboys' defense that forced the 3-and-outs.
I don't know. I think the Eagles had to run a lot of. They were running the clock out. I think they thought, we got the Cowboys with 40 seconds left and no timeouts. We won this game. That's what I thought. That's why I left early. Oops.
855-212-4CBS. Coming up, the biggest question coming out of last night's college football playoff rankings. We're going to answer it next. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, not a lot of drama at the college football playoff, Perloff. This is supposed to be a television show that we're all tuning in for, but they really showed some restraint, I thought, in basically staying with the same top 8 that they did from last week with Ohio State, then Georgia, then Michigan, Florida State. That rounds out the top 4. Then you have Washington still undefeated, a 1-loss Oregon, 1-loss Texas, 1-loss Alabama, and that's the top 8. And it kind of feels to me like this is setting up, it's like the appetizer, because there's no chance that the top 8 can stay the same this week because of the games that are happening.
Well, I think the committee looks at the week ahead and says, we don't have to make a tough decision now because this is going to be played out on the field. So we all know it doesn't really matter what they do right now because obviously Ohio State has to play Michigan and Alabama has to hopefully play the SEC title game. And they know what they're doing here. They're sort of setting it up, knowing exactly how it's going to play out over the next month.
So that's like the kind of drama-less college football playoff rankings, part 2. I mean, listen, maybe you can quibble a little bit if you are maybe Georgia. Did you think that you would get the top spot now because your win was a lot more convincing than what Ohio State did against Rutgers? But again, I don't think that's enough to move the needle for the committee.
Well, the one thing that could be an issue is you're looking at a real logjam at the top this year. There's going to be 7 or 8 big programs competing for those 4 spots. So Georgia could say, oh, okay, if we have 1 loss and Michigan has 1 loss, Ohio State has 1 loss, are you going to put us behind Ohio State? But the committee will flip-flop on that anyway. There's no consistency, right? Just because Georgia's behind Ohio State now, if they end up with the same record, they could arbitrarily move Georgia up. I think the history shows that.
No doubt. EJ has a couple of these burning college football questions for us. EJ, what's up?
What's up, guys? So we're going to begin here with a very important question, one that I think is going to be fascinating and a story we've been following for a while. It's Texas and Arch Manning.
Oh, boy.
So we have the injury to Quinn Ewers and questions about whether Arch Manning will get his shot here. Does Arch Manning give Texas the best chance to win the rest of the way?
So Malik Murphy has been in for Ewers, who's now listed as day-to-day, right? I think day-to-day, so he might come back against TCU. Texas, I believe, is a 10-point favorite on the road to play TCU this weekend. And Murphy, for as talented as the guy is, 4 turnovers in the last 2 games. Didn't matter much against BYU because you beat him in a blowout, Perloff, but those 2 interceptions against Kansas State, and that was a Texas escapes in overtime, 33-30. I don't know if Arch Manning would look tons better, though. And
it's hard to tell because Arch is so young.
So young, but if Malik Murphy continues, A, to play, and B, to have turnovers, I do believe they would go to Arch.
So I think you can read an injury report. We've been in this business long enough to know they're priming us for Ewers to come back right here. Malik Murphy was so good in the first half last week, I thought that he could even challenge Ewers. And then he was so bad in the second half, and sort of the end of the second quarter on. It is very confusing to me because Malik Murphy was a big recruit himself. He was a 4-star, not a 5-star like Arch. I think if you're Texas, you hold on with Ewers and you have some experience with Murphy. To go to a complete unknown with your Final Four life hanging in the balance, that seems like a big risk. I don't think Sark does that because you look at Texas, they have no margin for error. They're on a razor's edge here. This is their Final Four year because exactly like you said, they escaped last Saturday. I don't think you take the big risk and try a total unknown in Arch. I wouldn't do it in this situation.
Listen, if Ewers, though, is still compromised or if he gets hurt again, so let's play this out. Say Ewers comes back and he gets hurt again, I do believe they'll probably go to Malik Murphy, but the first interception he throws, I think they're going to Arch.
They didn't last week, and Malik Murphy couldn't hit the ocean.
That's true, but I do think that Sark has, the way he's talking about Arch Manning, listen, of course you got to talk up Arch Manning. He's the biggest recruit you've landed. But him talking about how, comfortable he's looking and the athleticism, I think they're greasing the wheels.
Sorry, I had just a little side turn on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
One reason to do Arch Manning, EJ and I had a pre-show debate. If Texas and Alabama both have one loss, if you're the committee and Arch Manning is the starting quarterback of Texas, wouldn't you maybe give that a bump for TV ratings? Would that be an advantage for Texas to say, ooh, we could bring Arch, and that's a big TV audience right there. It's a good last name.
I know, but do you think that Arch Manning actually is more eyeballs than Alabama?
Well,
Alabama is the number one draw outside of Notre Dame in this country.
So that's a debate. Texas and Alabama are on a collision course. I think Texas gets in over Alabama because Texas is wildly popular too. Texas is a huge program. So Alabama, they kept out last year. I think Arch Manning could be a deciding factor in that. Don't you think? Don't you want to see Arch Manning? We've seen Alabama. I know Alabama's a big rating. I think Texas with Arch Manning is a way bigger rating.
EJ, what's next?
Let's get back to that college football playoff. So we talked about one-loss teams that are trying to get themselves in. Which current one-loss team has the best chance at making the college football playoff?
Oh, Maggie, I'm going to steal this one from you because I know you're a lifelong Oregon Ducks fan. That's
this year.
That's your team for the season.
My bandwagon.
Oregon is 8-1 and has a showdown coming likely with Washington, who they lost to in Seattle in the Pac-12 title game. It's not just that they have the path there, which they do. They're also playing better than any one-loss team in the country. They're destroying people. I think Oregon with a Heisman candidate in Bo Nix, maybe a Heisman favorite in Bo Nix, if they win that Washington game, they're going to be very, very attractive to the committee. I think Oregon gets in with one loss.
Okay, I'm going to give you a trivia question. Which team has 5 wins versus the top 35 Football Power Index and 1 loss against a top 10 team? The answer is Alabama, and the Oregon and Texas combined have 5 wins against the top 35 and 1 bad loss. So I would think that if you look at the numbers and who's played who and what kind of quality wins do you have, Alabama blows Oregon out of the water.
No
and
way.
I'm sorry to say this because obviously, I love my Ducks, but the second best game on Oregon's schedule in terms of good games for the committee to look at, the second best one they have is a loss. A good loss to Washington. And meanwhile, Alabama out here beating LSU, beating other ranked teams. I think Alabama definitely gets the nod right now.
Ooh,
They're behind Texas because they lost to Texas, but they lost to Texas the second week of the season when the quarterback situation was completely in flux. Now Jalen Milroe is might get invited to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. It's a different team now.
Why do you think Alabama's number 8 right now, with the lowest ranking they've ever had? Because their schedule has been so soft. I know the top 35 wins, but all those teams were in Tuscaloosa. They don't have a signature win. What's their signature win?
Well, they just beat LSU.
But LSU is their quarterback got knocked out in the third quarter on a dirty hit, and they were struggling that whole game. I think the committee does not love Alabama's resume right now because everybody had to come to Alabama, so they don't really have who have they beaten on the road. I don't think they've even beaten a winning team on the road.
Well, they've got other ranked wins against Tennessee, whatever you think about Tennessee, and they beat Ole Miss, who's sitting right there at 9.
So the Ole Miss win is arguably their most impressive win, but beating Ole Miss in Alabama, I mean, does that really blow you away? Where if Oregon gets a hold of Washington, that is a huge win.
Okay, but they already lost once to Washington. Yeah. Listen, I love my Ducks, but what's their big win?
It's going to be Washington.
Okay, but that hasn't happened yet. Like, I could say Alabama's
well,
big win could be Georgia.
Well, that's the other thing. Alabama will have Georgia, hopefully have Georgia.
In the SEC championship game.
Yeah, that's why. But the
honestly,
question was, who's the most likely to get in one win? And I'm looking at Oregon against Washington. And I'm looking at Alabama against Georgia. I'm saying Oregon is most likely because I don't know if Alabama can beat Georgia right now.
Well, I don't know if they will either. But if they beat Georgia, they're definitely in. But that's going to go into our next question. But I'm looking at Oregon. Listen, again, love my Ducks. But that Colorado win is not looking the same as it did. And you have the loss to Washington, but that could have been the game of the year. You absolutely smoked Utah, but Utah is also playing with a backup quarterback whose parents are pig farmers, and they're playing with a safety at running back. Yeah. Like, Utah is fun to watch, but they're not the juggernaut either.
Funny thing is, both teams could easily get boxed out the way things are going, which would be amazing to watch.
EJ, what's last?
All right, final question here. Staying with the college football playoff, will any conference get 2 teams into the college football playoff this season?
Ooh, like last year? Not a chance. There is not a chance.
Really? Not a chance?
This is the weirdest year. Every big conference has a legit Final Four team. And some of them have 2. So, the SEC has Georgia and Alabama. The Big Ten has Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Penn State. The Pac-12 has Oregon and Washington. The Big 12 has Texas for its last time. And the ACC has Florida State. It's unbelievable. All the conferences have showed up to play this year.
Okay, but here's the thing. If Florida State wins out and Washington wins out, what's going to happen?
They're both in.
Oh, I don't know. I think Washington might end up jumping Florida State, and I'm not so sure that they are both in.
Really?
I'm not so sure. I know that Florida State right now is 4, so it might be harder to knock them off, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. I think the SEC still could get two teams in. And I think that Alabama beating Georgia, because of Georgia's a mini dynasty right now, because Georgia is so incredible, that if Georgia with a 1 loss, I think, gets in, and I think Alabama with a 1 loss gets in.
Over undefeated Florida State or Washington?
This is where I feel like the committee might do some hijinks, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, these are not small schools
no,
either. Washington might not be the brand that some of these other schools are, but Florida State certainly is.
I just think there's like this idea that we kind of feel that Washington will lose to Oregon in the rematch because that game was so close.
Well, all these 1-loss teams need Washington and Florida State to lose. That otherwise they have a big problem on their hands. The other thing is Ohio State and Michigan. If Michigan beats Penn State, then one of those teams is going to be undefeated.
I just think the Big Ten winner is the only one getting in this year.
I think the committee, they say they like conference champions, and they're going to be put to the test here. To jump a 1-loss Alabama who hasn't had a hard schedule this year, it's going to be really hard.
Man, I mean, FSU probably doesn't have a loss, right? Are they winning out here?
By the way, Florida State has flirted with all these teams have flirted with disaster. Georgia has too. I don't know. EJ, you got your Hurricanes coming in to Florida State.
I have no confidence that Miami can beat Florida State this weekend.
EJ is specifically going to see a Marvel movie so he doesn't have to watch Miami play Florida State.
That is a fact.
You wave the white flag.
The Marvels, 4:30, right hour after kickoff is when I'm going to see the Marvel movie.
But we know fandom. That could actually propel the Hurricanes to a win. Yeah. EJ not being there. And if they do win that, you can never watch a game again, right?
Well, I mean, that's the sacrifice you have to make as a fan.
Yeah.
If you don't watch and your team wins, you never get to watch again.
Sadly.
You cheer from afar.
Maybe in 2 years. I don't know what the statute of limitations are. And you have to see a Marvel movie every time they have a big game.
It's true.
But
don't worry, there'll be one.
They come out every 2 weeks, so I think it'll be fine.
Isn't it amazing? Last year, they had to put in a 1-loss Ohio State team and a TCU team with 1 loss. This year, they might freeze out a 1-loss Oregon team or a 1-loss Texas team. They have some big brands to choose from. Remember I said I love awkwardness for the college football playoff committee? This is going to be a great awkward year.
Lucky Perloff. Like, you get to really see a lot. So here's a question. Do you think that the Pac-12 being in the final year of its existence helps them get a team in, or do you think it hurts in the sense that, you know, you're kind of putting the failures of this conference. This is not Oregon's fault or Washington's fault, by the way. You're kind of putting the failures, the hypocrisies, the money grab of college football and putting it on the biggest stage. It's like, here's like the last going out party for the Pac-12. I don't know if that helps them in the eyes of the committee, because you're putting a glaring failure in front of an audience of, 50 million.
Who do you think the people who got Oregon and Washington in the Big Ten, who do you think sitting on the committee? The people who engineered all these moves, they don't care.
But it's embarrassing for them, isn't it?
No. I mean, this is what the ADs do. It's not. I don't think it's that embarrassing. I think it might even help them to give a little bit of homage to the Pac-12. It'd be weird to keep the Pac-12. This is the best Pac-12 we've had in 2 decades.
I know, but
to keep them out of the Final Four with a strong one-loss team that'd be something.
I know, but if you have a Pac-12 team in the college football Final Four, you're just kind of saying like, why doesn't this conference exist anymore? It's like, oh yeah, because y'all are greedy.
Yeah, but y'all are the people who are in the room choosing this. That's the greedy people.
I know, but it's like, so they're basically...
So they're going to try and hide their true intention to be like, oh, we're not the greedy ones. We don't like any of this. They literally made the actual decisions to pull in these schools.
I think it's like LOL, It just sort of makes everyone look bad because, honestly, the Pac-12 should not be going away. But... Anyway, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So you're welcome to weigh in on those topics. Arch Manning coming to save the day for Texas, a one-loss team getting in the college football playoff, and will one conference get 2 teams into the college football playoff?
Or more specifically, which one-loss team has the best chance?
Yeah. I say Alabama, Perloff says Oregon.
I think you could do a good poll. The big debate, too, now is Texas versus Alabama. So you could do Oregon. You could do a poll. Which one-loss team would have the best chance? Alabama, Oregon, or Texas?
I know the only thing about that is that Texas has the win over Alabama, and the committee has so far rewarded that because they've been ranking Texas right above Alabama.
EJ thinks that they will flip-flop on that.
I totally think that Alabama will leapfrog Texas, and it's only because I know the college football playoff doesn't have as much precedent, but it is new. But we've seen the past BCS schools that beat teams that then got leaped over because of their loss coming earlier in the season. Happened to Miami in 2000, happened to Texas with Colt McCoy. It's happened a lot of times. And I don't think that they care about the head-to-head matchup. I think they look at this more as a power ranking. They look at it as more of a where are you today?
Yep.
And the head-to-head matchup doesn't matter nearly as much as we think it does.
I think the TV product matters a lot, too. I think they want ratings. So I think the committee will have trouble keeping out certain schools. Alabama and Texas, I think, are very attractive to the committee.
Coming up, got a lot more to do, including surprise change at quarterback in the NFL. We'll get to that in a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back on Maggie and Perloff. It's that time of year, Maggie, where you really need to read ahead to find out who's playing quarterback on Sunday. It's only week 9. It feels like week 16 in quarterback terms right now. There's a lot of backups going on, but there is one move that has really caught your attention.
Yeah, and it's a move that I really don't like. Now, we're going to debut a new segment here, and this was inspired by our pal Dave Marinick. We're going to debut a new segment called No Gray Area. Perfect. And when I say no gray area, I mean a situation that's unassailable. It's going to seem like opinion, but it's fact. And this is the worst decision of the NFL season is upon us. And that's the Arizona Cardinals named Kyler Murray their starter for this week's game. Now, Perloff, why is this a bad idea? Let us count the ways. Number one, Kyler Murray is coming off of an ACL injury. So he's about to join the worst team in the NFL, a team that's 1-8, who are in the driver's seat for the number 1 overall pick, and who can start this thing over again with the regime who did not draft Kyler Murray and, more importantly, did not pay Kyler Murray, okay? The folks who paid Kyler Murray, they're all fired. So what does that tell you about how the organization views the future of Kyler? Now, let's talk about the contract for a moment. It has a little thing we call injury guarantees. Which means if Murray gets hurt again and cannot pass a physical by the 5th day of the league year, which is in March, then his contract for not 2024, for 2025 becomes fully guaranteed.
That sounds bad.
If anything happens to him, the contract is guaranteed, and it's guaranteed for over $45 million. Now you say, Maggie, why would you assume that Kyler Murray is going to get hurt again?
Yeah, why?
Why? Well, if you watched the Arizona Cardinals last week, and I'm pretty sure you didn't because they stink, 2 offensive linemen left the game in that contest and did not return because of injury against Cleveland. So you have Kyler Murray off a torn ACL, now coming back to the worst team in the league, who may be down 2 starting offensive linemen. Now, the Cleveland Browns defense is so good. They're like the new 49ers, which means they beat you up in the game that it even lingers into the next game. So again, you've got Kyler walking into a team that just got the crap kicked out of them by the Cleveland Browns, might be the best defense in the entire NFL. You've got 5 of your next 8 games against teams with winning records or at 500. So what are the positives of playing him? You would win a game, win a couple games, not enough to make the playoffs, and definitely enough to take you out of the running for the number 1 overall pick. The negatives, he blows your shot at the number 1 pick by winning some games. He gets hurt, guaranteeing his contract for 2025, and you have no more clarity about your quarterback position because now he could be coming off of 2 ACL injuries.
Points to push back on.
Okay.
The 2 linemen that were injured last week probably weren't very good to start with.
Thank you. You're making my point for me. To me, the real key point, I think, for you, and I know how you think, is that they don't want to blow the number 1 pick. But are you so sure that they don't want to build around Kyler Murray because they think Kyler Murray is a good quarterback? I think that's the crux of the question. Is there anything left in the Kyler Murray is a good quarterback dream? Well, maybe if they're trying to trade him, that you would try to prop up that maybe there's something left. But if you really think Kyler Murray is the answer. And
maybe they do.
Then why did they fire the people who drafted him and paid him and were coaching him? If you really love Murray, you keep the nucleus. You keep the nucleus around him. That means you think your general manager knocked it out of the park. That means you think your head coach in Cliff Kingsbury was awesome. Like, you made wholesale changes to the regime that drafted and paid him.
Okay. I actually agree with you, but I'm playing devil's advocate here.
You can't. This is why it's called no gray area.
Yeah. No, there's no gray. I mean,
this is the dumbest decision in the NFL that we've seen so far.
But there is a scenario where the Cardinals can have Kyler Murray quarterback. Say he looks good. Say he looks Pro Bowl level. You would take a Pro Bowl level. Caleb Williams would be the number 1 pick, presumably. We don't know what he's going to be in the NFL. We don't know what Drake May is going to be in the NFL. We know Kyler Murray can be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan, but I do think there are some. Then if you have the number 1 pick, say you trade that for 3 more first-round picks. You have 2 first-round picks this year. You have the Texans pick and your pick. You could really start to do a massive, massive rebuild. If you go number 1 and draft Caleb Williams, you're adding Caleb Williams to one of the worst rosters in the league. You're not going to be good. So I think you might want to rebuild around Kyler Murray. You can make that argument because if you cut him, regardless of the injury guarantee, you have a real cap problem.
You do, but again, this is the worst team in the NFL. I mean, maybe we could quibble about it, but right now they are in the driver's seat for the number 1 pick. They're not winning for a while. So why do I want an expensive quarterback when I can start this whole thing over again, even with an unknown, Caleb Williams, Drake May, whatever? At least I'm not paying that guy, and I didn't make the mistake of paying Kyler Murray too fast. My quarterback too fast.
Say you trade from 1 to 5. You get 2 first-round picks. You take Marvin Harrison Jr., you add that to with the Cardinals, the best receiver in college football, or Keon Coleman. You get a star receiver.
Yeah.
You draft another tackle. You drafted a tackle this year. All of a sudden, you have 2 top 5 tackles behind Kyler Murray. You're building some depth on offense. I don't know who on earth is on your defense, but you can make an argument. Wow, we can build a really good team around Kyler Murray. There are some Kyler Murray believers. I'm just pointing that out.
Listen, and Kyler Murray, when it's on, it can look very good. But Kyler Murray is also somebody who needs to be able to make really devastating cuts. Him running is a huge part of his game, and now he's coming off of an ACL, which I know guys come back from all of that. That's fine, but he's young in his career. An ACL with a guy who needs that part of his game to be a big part of it. It's not like Joe Burrow coming back from an ACL where Joe's just moving around the pocket here and there and getting the ball out quickly. Kyler Murray is like the offense. So if he gets hurt again, I blew my shot at starting over with the number 1 pick. No gray areas here, guy.
I totally agree. You convinced me.
Thank you.
Although I do like the strategy of not playing him against Cleveland for the reason you said. He would have gotten murdered in that game.
Dumb.
So how about this? You play him against Atlanta, Houston, and the Rams. Then you sit him against Pittsburgh and the Niners. Can you just sort of play him 75% of the time?
Again, you're going to mess around. You might win a couple games here. It'd be devastating.
And you know what will happen? They'll win a couple games and the fan base will be excited. They're like, we got Kyler Murray back. And it'll end up hurting them. I'm totally sold.
Let's go to our pal. Lee is in San Diego, is always an adventure. Good morning, Lee.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I was just wanting to talk about. I'm not a Cardinals fan or anything, but I think him getting back in there is a good thing for them.
Why?
I mean, the season is pretty much lost, but if they win out, they could be 10-7, right?
You really think they're winning out?
Win out?
I
really think they're winning out?
No.
Okay.
I'm a Chargers fan.
They're
so
1-8, by the way.
Hey, a Chargers fan. Perloff doesn't think
I'm
they
used
exist.
I'm used to being disappointed.
Oh.
I root for any team that hasn't won the Super Bowl. I'm all there, man.
I get that, Lee.
Lions, Chargers, Vikings, anybody that hasn't won a Super Bowl, I'm all for it, man.
Lee, you like the underdogs, and thank you for the phone call.
By the way, if Kyler Murray could lead them to 10-7, it'd be the greatest comeback in the history of not just the NFL, but all of sports, because they're 1-8 right now. So if he could lead them to a 10-7 record,
he's got an extra game.
That would be a miracle beyond miracles. And I know he's good; he's a very talented quarterback, but that would be wild.
Zion is in San Diego as well. Good morning, Zion.
Yeah, good morning.
What's on your mind?
Can I get a state of the franchise on what's going on with the 49ers? And if being 5-0, starting 5-0, helped or hurt this team?
Well, how did it hurt? How would it have hurt the team? Because they peaked too soon?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, Zion, thank you for the phone call. A little state of the 49ers. Coming off the bye, you're at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
This is one of the games of the weekend. And, hey, get a new fun toy to play with. Chase Young is now part of this defensive front. That's changed since the last time we saw them.
I think the key to helping the defense is you got to have Trent Williams in there so you can run the football. I think it was the Debo injury and the Trent Williams injury is why you had that little losing streak. And those guys are coming back. I think you see the first half Niners. It's a tough game against Jacksonville. I'm not saying they definitely win this game, but you're going to see a team that's much more like the 5-0 team than when Trent Williams went out and they stopped running the ball and McCaffrey was about 3 yards per carry. Then all of a sudden the defense was on the field for 40 minutes a game compared to 20 minutes a game. Complimentary football, Maggie. You know, I always say that. I do always say that.
Do always say that. Also,
nobody ever listens, but
establish the run, set up the pass.
Yeah, and also
other things you say.
I think this is on me. I underestimated the impact of a Debo Samuel injury. I was like, they have Kittle, they have Ayuk, they have McCaffrey. They don't need Debo that bad. Man, he adds a lot of elements to that offense.
Andrew Bogish is here with headlines. Good morning.
Good morning again. You guys might have noticed that the Yankees were not involved in the baseball postseason. I think we're on 14 long years now without a world title in the Bronx. And now we know what's holding the Bombers back. Owner Hal Steinbrenner made the revelation public yesterday.
One thing that was discussed in August is bunting. I mean, I think Aaron Boone thinks that we're not teaching the umpires to bunt enough.
Now, most other teams would have fired Aaron Boone immediately for suggesting more bunts in 2023, but the Yankees know better, so Boone keeps his job, and this once proud organization will come back to life through the bunt.
It's amazing.
The bunt.
That's what's wrong with the Yankees. They couldn't bunt.
6 weeks. This is their first postseason conversation. Ownership and GM Brian Cashman, who you'll hear from in a second. 6 weeks after the season ends, the best they got is we're probably going to bunt.
This is a team that is built on power, home runs. You know, you don't want to say anything about the defense. You don't want to say anything about how you don't have a left fielder. You don't want to say anything about how you got guys playing out of position constantly. No. The bunting, guys. That's where it went wrong.
Couldn't get over that he crowdsourced whether or not he should bring back Aaron Boone by asking people who either aren't with the organization anymore, like Andy Pettit, or players who may be impacted or have a relationship with Aaron Boone that may be kind of biased and asking. Like, that to me was crazy. Like, you're a billionaire and you're supposed to be the end-all be-all, and you're asking your employees, hey, you know, one of the most important guys in the organization, should I bring him back or nah?
No, the best is Nick Swisher was consulted on this. Nick Swisher is basically a Labrador retriever of a person. Just nice, fun, positive, lick your face. I don't know about that, but
seems plausible.
You know, I'll just play catch, cool.
Right.
Has Nick Swisher ever said a bad word about anybody?
Yeah, Aaron Boone could probably punch Nick Swisher, and Nick would say, "Good punch, keep your job."
Yeah, I love
Heck of a
it.
hook.
I welcome more bunting on the Yankees.
Yeah, Manny's here wearing his Yankee hat. Is bunting the problem, Manny?
I think bunts are a lost art in the sport, and I think I've seen it in the World. I saw it in the World Series. Somebody laid down a bunt, and it ended up being a two-base error. People don't know how to defend the bunt nowadays.
The Diamondbacks bunted on the Phillies. It was super annoying.
The Diamondbacks bunted more than any team in baseball.
Who won the series?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks.
Who won that game?
But I have to be honest. I think all you Yankee lovers are out of your mind. This is a crazy. Because my Twitter feed was like, look at Brian Cashman, the worst GM in the history of sports. How many times have the Yankees been in the playoffs? What do you expect to win 150 games every year? Oh my God, Yankee fans are insane.
He started on third base. He has one of the most highest payrolls, and the Yankees.
Insane.
The Yankee. Oh my gosh, we can't even get in.
You can't have one down year here. What's the big deal?
Is that all of the moves that he made with his pitching staff have all flopped? All of them.
I'm a Cashman defender, but what he said yesterday was asinine.
Yeah, here's what he said yesterday for those of you who didn't hear.
I'm proud of our people, and I'm proud of our process. Doesn't mean we're firing on all cylinders. Doesn't mean we're the best in class. I think we're pretty good, personally, and I'm proud of our people.
So he's fired up.
I mean, he said that in a year when they finished 4th in the AL East.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a statement. Also, I love he said, nobody knows that we're not run by analytics, and nobody knows that. Meanwhile, you are literally bringing in an analytics company to do your off-season work. It's like the name analytics, like in the title of the company, the consulting company they're bringing in. Anyway, delusion is a hell of a joke.
I love it. We got a bunt more. Yeah. Meanwhile, it is still Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and FSU atop the CFP rankings. Then Washington and Oregon altogether, the top 8 teams unchanged from week 1. Number 23, Tulane, BTW, is the highest ranked group of 5 team. I already knew I was lazy. I'm proud of it, but Jets head coach Robert Saleh confirmed it yesterday.
It's lazy to just put it all on him. I think, like I said, it was collective all the way across the board.
Yeah, I'm putting it all on Zach Wilson. Other Jets played poorly in Monday night's Bleep show against the Chargers, but there's no reason to think anymore Wilson would have been good if people blocked for him. But Zach remains the Jets starting QB for Sunday night's game in Vegas. Yes, another prime time Jet offensive.
I'm sorry, America. I'm
sorry. Lucky us. I don't know if anyone's going to care about this, but there was great sound. Maybe find it later, or maybe not. Again, I don't know if anyone cares. But Robert Saleh was asked yesterday, why aren't they going to Trevor Siemian? I mean, we are so bottom of the barrel right now, and he did not have an answer. This is how you know you're not making the decisions, is because he couldn't explain why they wouldn't go to Siemian. Again, not sure anyone cares.
I got you next hour.
Who is making the decision then? Why are they going with Zach Wilson?
Got to be the general manager. I think they either general manager trying to appease Aaron Rodgers that they don't want to move away from Zach Wilson. Not that Siemian is going to be some kind of threat to Rodgers, but clearly Rodgers likes Zach Wilson, and clearly the organization doesn't want to admit that they got this so horribly wrong with the second overall pick.
But I mean, is Aaron Rodgers really worried that Trevor Siemian would play well enough that if Rodgers was healthy in the middle of December, the Jets would go, I'm sorry, we're going to stick with Trev?
Yeah. No.
That would be his concern? Will Levis is now the permanent starting QB with the Titans, and Carson Wentz is thankfully back in the NFL, reportedly agreeing to back up Matthew Stafford. The Rams hoping Stafford returns from his thumb injury after this week's bye. Men's top 25 college hoops, 8th-ranked Creighton had no problem with Florida A&M, winning 105-54 while hitting 18 threes. At number 20, Baylor downed Auburn and Sioux Falls, 88-82. Jacoby Walker scored 28 for the Bears. So much rhyming on ice in Denver last night.
Colorado takes it back. Cale Makar head for Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen up the middle underneath for Nathan McKinnon. Backhander. He scores! The Mac Attack is back, Jack!
I feel like you need one more. I think a 5th.
Yeah.
Playoff
Facts.
of Mac. Yeah, something like that.
First of all, the Mac Attack is Jody Mac over here. These parts.
I
That's
think,
true.
Yeah, probably. And that's a fact. The Mac Attack is back, Jack.
Yeah. So you can do it.
You hack.
Nathan McKinnon's goal helped the Avs pull away from the Devils for a 6-3 win. The Sharks got their very first victory of the season on their 12th try, 2-1 over the Flyers. A loss would have been the worst start in NHL history. And the Rangers took care of the Red Wings 5-3. Artemi Panarin, a goal and an assist to extend his season-opening point streak to 12 games. and Atlanta United forcing a decisive Game 3 in Columbus on Sunday with a 4-2 home win last night. Guys, back to you.
You said that'd be the worst start in NHL history?
Correct.
That feels like it should be a little more notable, no? The worst start ever? Are they tanking for the number 1 pick? Does that happen?
I mean, it happens. The NHL is a lottery, though, so it's not a simple science. I think they're just bad.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you have wanted to tank also last year? Wasn't Connor Bedard was the big
Yeah.
prize?
Yeah, I
don't know who this year's prize is.
No, I have no idea, but it's just weird. The worst start in NHL history?
Well, they tied the worst start. They would have had it to themselves if they lost last night.
Huh.
Yeah.
Gosh, Sharks, see, the Yankees missed the playoffs once in 23 years, and you guys all panic. The Sharks are the worst team in the history of the sport, and nobody seems to care.
But they're bunting, so they know how to
they need to bunt more. They bunted last night and
There's
won.
absolutely no difference between the New York Yankees and the San Jose Sharks. There's nothing that's different about those two franchises.
Have been a pretty good franchise, haven't they?
I mean, Joe Thornton's not coming back to that door anytime soon. So.
Yeah.
Marco Sturm is long gone.
Perloff only knew who one of those people were. 855
Patrick Marleau? No?
212.
Patrick Marlowe's not a hockey player. Do you mean the detective Patrick Marleau? No, that's Phil Marleau. Anyway, go on.
Nice. What's that, Raymond Chandler? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Deion Sanders getting candid. We have it for you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. Let's get to something that around here we call the Daily Deion.
Daily. Do you believe that? Deion. You believe that?
Deion Sanders doing an interview. Perloff at your former stomping grounds, Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah.
Which we love.
Deion, always amazing guest on Dan Patrick Show. Loves Dan, has always had something to say. So I'm so psyched that he did this candid interview yesterday.
We got a couple things for you off of this one. So first, Deion explaining why he doesn't want to coach in the NFL.
I don't think I'm built for the NFL. I don't think, because I appreciate the game so much, and I respect the game so much of what the game has consistently done for me for a multitude of years, that when I see a guy getting paid millions and millions of dollars and he has no respect for the game, does not want to excel and exceed expectations of the game, I'm going to have a true problem. So I'm the kind of coach that would go out there with 53 and come back after halftime with about 32.
I
think
believe him.
That's a salary cap violation, I believe, to cut 19 players at halftime.
Yeah, the Players Association might have a problem with that. But I actually believe him. I think that would drive him insane because, Deion always wanted to get paid a lot, but he always did make good on those contracts.
I think he doth protest too much because now the college players are pros as well. A lot of NIL money floating around Colorado. I think if college gets old, and college is getting more professional year by year.
That's true.
Eventually the lines might blur, and I think he would say, what the heck? It's not that different. Might as well go to the NFL. And, you could throw a truckload of money at him. The right situation could come up. And I think he'll be attracted to coaching his sons in the NFL as well. I know he keeps saying this, but the more I hear it, the kind of less I believe it. And also, he is technically, Deion's job is college football coach, so every single word he says is a complete lie / fabrication. I don't trust any college football coach to say anything. And Deion, come on, Deion also said, I think he said he was going to stay at Jackson State at one point.
That is true. That did not happen. More on Deion saying his sons aren't leaving for the NFL this year, and he doesn't know if he would join them at the next level.
They're going to come out the same year, next year.
Okay.
They better not try to leave Daddy this year, by the way. I don't know. I haven't thought, man, I'm trying to win a game. I'm not thinking down the street that far. I haven't thought like that. That's a great thought process, though.
I told you. I thought the Raiders would have been a perfect spot. Bring in Deion as the coach. You bring in Shedeur as the quarterback. But as we discussed yesterday, I'm not really sure how great of an X's and O's coach Deion is. But, you outsource that stuff. You can get your, timeout consultant. You've got an end-of-game situation guy.
You don't have to
get the analytics department involved.
But you definitely don't have to call plays on either side. There's a lot of coaches who do that.
Yeah, John Harbaugh doesn't do that, and he has had a job for over a decade.
I think Shedeur has a lot of reasons to stay because this year's quarterback class is loaded. Next year's is much, much more wide open. Get a higher pick. Maybe you go to a bad team, but you're linking with the Raiders. It's not going to get a lot worse than that. So I don't think
open jobs.
If you go to a team that needs a quarterback, they're probably not great to start with. So I think Shedeur gets tons of money. He's already I see him in commercials all the time. There was a report he's making $4.5 million this year. Can make $10 million next year to be at Colorado. So yes, he starts his clock on the NFL late, but he doesn't need any money. He's already driving a Maybach. The guys whose dads are NFL pros generally don't feel the pressure to get into college football. Peyton Manning delayed it. Andrew Luck delayed it. And I think Deion's son, Shedeur, is in the same exact boat. He could easily delay it. And don't you think he wants to be number one? Deion has said this. He's not going to be number one this year. He's not going to be number two this year. So the highest he can be is 3. Next year, it's an easy number one.
Listen, not for me to, yuck someone else's yums. I just don't understand why the number 1 overall pick is so important. I think that didn't Tom Brady blow this out of the water? Like you could go Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you can go to a much better situation and not be the number 1 overall pick.
I mean, look at what happened with Bryce Young this year. I mean, he went number 1 to what may be the worst roster in the NFL, thanks to their GM and the owner gutting a lot of their star players.
Just to get him.
Yes, just to get him. C.J. Stroud goes to a team that actually tries to build a team with an offensive line with a better defense, and he was number 2. Even that made a big difference.
Yeah, but he was 2. Okay, I mean it's not like the Steelers or maybe the Steelers. It's not like the 49ers or the Bengals or a great team is going to draft you. You're going to go to a rebuilding team because otherwise they wouldn't be drafting a quarterback, right?
Yeah, but I think that we've seen the differences between just a few picks in terms of the roster construction around you can be massive. And
Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, like you can end up going to a better, you can still be a first-round pick and just end up going to a better situation. I never understood why guys, wanted and needed that so badly, because sometimes you're basically, going to a place that could ruin your career.
You do get paid a lot more. And by the way, you said that C.J. Stroud going number 2, there's no death pick more than the number 2 pick in the NFL draft.
Generally, that one has not been good.
That's a disaster quarterback spot. That's a Trubisky, Zach Wilson spot. But I think being number 1 overall, it's a big chunk of money right there. You could make up everything that you're losing by staying in school for 1 year. You can make it up right there. And look at next year's class. Everyone's coming out now.
Yeah, but it's slotted these days. So the Sam Bradford $50 million guaranteed before you step on the field, those days are gone. So
I think it's a good $15 million or something between. I think you have 32 guaranteed for the 1 spot. That's not small.
No, it's not small, but I think you're getting $25 million for top 5. So again, it's funny money. We get that.
But he could be 30 this year because you got so many quarterbacks. Name a quarterback that's going to be in next year's draft class. No one's going to jump to mind.
Well,
Drew Aller is pretty much it.
But think about it. You know who actually ended up being in the best situation in terms of getting paid and kind of gaming the system is Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts didn't have the 5th-year option, and he ends up sitting first behind Carson Wentz. Yeah. So he gets to look like the conquering hero when he gets into a game. And then he came up faster because you don't have that 5th-year option looming out there. A 2nd-round pick actually gets you paid quick.
Yeah, Will Levis might run into that same exact situation. He looks like a really good quarterback. But I do think there is pride. I mean, you guys know the Sanderses. You don't think there's pride about being number 1 overall? I know you say it's not important.
It's like
when you look at big picture.
Trees.
I do think, however, that Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot of pride. Being the number 1 overall pick is kind of a cool thing. There's only 1 a year. That's math.
Thank you. Thank you, Dartmouth. 855-2124 CBS. George is in Los Angeles. It's got a little different spin here on some news of the day. What's going on, George?
Hey, good morning, guys. I enjoy your show. I'm very pleased with them signing Carson Wentz, and I wish they had done that back in 2016, to be honest with you. I think McVay, he wasn't around then, but I think McVay would have made him a much better quarterback in the future and maybe revamp his career, and like he did Baker Mayfield last year. It's a good signing. They have nothing to lose, and Stafford might be more injured than what we realize.
Yeah.
And with the bye week, this will help him get ready. Thank you.
George, appreciate it. Someone happy with Carson Wentz. I mean, but yeah, if Carson Wentz had been with McVay, sure, maybe his whole career is different. You could say that with a lot of quarterbacks.
Well, the funny thing about Carson Wentz, early on, he was the huge hit. Right now, we're 5 weeks.
Speaking of number 2 picks.
We're 9 weeks in, and everyone thinks C.J. Stroud is the next Patrick Mahomes. Carson Wentz was 4 years into his career a perennial Pro Bowler, and nobody would have thought that he was going to be a total failure. He could have been the MVP in 2017, tore his ACL, and really it was never quite the same. He never had confidence in that leg again. Kind of hurt him. But that's an interesting point because nobody liked Jared Goff early in the career. Everybody was like, Wentz was the better quarterback.
Yeah, it's true. I guess the other thing, though, is, listen, I give McVay a lot of credit because I think he's brilliant, but, I mean, he definitely didn't feel like he could get the most out of Goff. Well, it makes me think he's going to get the most out of Wentz.
He still got a lot of touchdowns out of Goff. He probably would have been pretty good with Carson Wentz, but Wentz got injured. He's back, though. You can't stop him, Maggie. The Carson Wentz train is riding again. Choo-choo. Let's go. Carson's Corner.
Coming up, it is Wednesday, which means the great debate series continues. What do we pick this week? Give you a hint. It's based on this week's news.
You're in a 5-minute break.
is Maggie.
Seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Great Debate Series. He's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, right here on CBS Sports Radio. It is Wednesday, which means we do something called the Great Debate Series around here. These are the big debates that we have in sports, always based loosely, Perloff, on the news of the week.
Absolutely.
Generally. And I would say the news of the week, and several weeks now, has been the Michigan sign stealing scandal. Something new every day, whether Jim Harbaugh is going to get in trouble, whether Michigan had this massive advantage, as Lane Kiffin is now positing that maybe this was good for maybe a touchdown or so per game, having the opponent's signs. The counterintelligence, the counter-espionage now that other Big Ten schools had Michigan signs. So does that make this any different? There's one thing after another with this scandal.
Was that Connor Stalions on the Central Michigan sideline? What was the deal with his facial hair at the time? I love, maybe fake facial hair. Their disguises, mustaches. This is great.
There's no end to this
espionage.
Story. So for the great debate, let's hit it, Manny.
The Great Debate Series.
Tackle the biggest sports scandals of all time. And when we say scandal, we're talking about on the field, things that impacted what was going on the field. We're not talking about people's personal lives.
Yeah.
No Tiger Woods here. We're not going O.J. Simpson. We're talking about on the field, things that impacted the sport.
Right.
Like sign stealing would impact the sport.
Yes. O.J. Simpson kind of dominated the entire news world for 5 years.
That's true.
So that doesn't count. I love a scandal that has to do with what impacts wins and losses. It's the best kind of scandal because no one is really getting hurt most times.
Well, it depends. Some of these scandals have been massive and with huge implications.
Yeah.
So today we debate the biggest sports scandals on the court, on the field, on the track, on the turf, on the ice of all time.
Oh, well, when you say that, you're right. Some people are getting hurt.
Some people are getting hurt.
That back.
Some people take a lead pipe to the foot. Anyway, not to give it away. Would you like to start it off?
Okay, I'll start off. I'm going so recent, and I'm so sorry for that. But to me, this is the best on-field cheating scandal that I can remember of all time. It's got to be the Astros banging the trash can because it was so nakedly cheating. And the 2017 Astros, of course, won the World Series. And every time there was a big home run, you heard right before. The fact that the Astros were walking around claiming they were the smartest team in the world, that they had reinvented how to build a team out of nowhere. All their executives were claiming they were geniuses. They were hitting a garbage can in the stands after they stole the sign. That is so brazen, and it's so simple. And the other great thing about cheating, any scandal, you need video. The fact that you could actually be a fan, and the fans uncovered this for the most part, that you could be a fan and you could be watching the game and you see a big home run and what is that noise? Why does it sound so rhythmic in the crowd? Because you get a lot of crowd noise during the game. The fact that we were all witness, just like MLB. MLB had obviously no idea until Mike Fears came out. But the fact that we all witnessed it along with the baseball cognoscenti is just incredible. It's my favorite cheating scandal of all time.
It was a big one. It calls into question the entire 2017 World Series. A lot of teams still salty about Altuve's MVP that season and a lot of other things. It's a good one.
I didn't even get into Altuve's buzzer because you don't believe that existed. But you do know the garbage cans were there, and
Yes,
to me,
I
that's
do.
the best.
Yes, the Astros garbage can scandal. It is so rudimentary, yet so
so good.
So good. For me, the biggest on-court scandal in sports history is one that is the deepest, darkest fear, not just for any league, but for every sports fan. Whoever thinks that a referee called something against your team because they had a personal interest in the game, the Tim Donaghy scandal is the biggest sports scandal in history. This is a referee who they claim was rogue, but to be honest, we never really got to the bottom of who else Donaghy may have been who else he may have included in this scandal. But, the NBA was able to wrap their arms around this, and it's really a credit, I guess, to David Stern that this didn't sink the league because, they had FBI investigations that said, Donaghy never actually threw a game. But we have so much evidence, it feels like, to the contrary. And things that we know is that Donaghy was betting on games that he was reffing. And we know through court documents and so much evidence that the games he was reffing, people placing bets on that were winning at a clip of 88%. That's insane. Nobody, if you know anything about betting, you know that that's an incredible number to be winning at. Clearly something was off. People made millions and millions of dollars off of this. The mafia got tied in with the Genovese crime family. I mean, this scandal had it all. And talk about brazen. I mean, this was so audacious. You had guys who were calling each other on burner phones telling you who was going to win the game. The fact that this was moving betting markets that started the night before in Asia and then came around to the U.S. by the time Lakers-Clippers tipped off. I mean, just bananas. To me, Tim Donaghy, that scandal is the biggest on-court scandal in sports.
I think one of the key elements that you mentioned is it has to work to be a great cheating scandal, and it clearly worked.
Yes.
So 88%, no doubt. Tim Donaghy was good at that. And we watched the documentary. The fact that he got away with it, I don't credit David Stern for saving the league. First of all, I wonder who he killed to do that. And secondly, he kind of let this happen. It was under his watch. It's interesting. I agree. You kind of hinted that maybe more people than we know were involved in this.
So one detail, because I went back to look, because I didn't watch the documentary, actually. I didn't love that Donaghy got to have a big say in it.
It's still pretty good, but
he's a liar. But the thing is about the detail that gets lost in history here is that Donaghy was cooperating with the FBI. He was going to wear a wire, and they were going to potentially implicate more referees, Scott Foster, maybe some others. Somehow, the investigation got leaked to the New York Post and blew up the whole wire of Donaghy wearing a wire. And they were never able to fully see who else was involved in the scam.
Wow. Now throwing Scott Foster under the bus.
I just wink, everybody.
Right
I mean, the phone logs tell the story. Why did Donaghy and Foster have to talk that much?
One more thing
They
to
were reffing
support
together.
the impact. Just this weekend, there was about 40 people who tweeted after this terrible roughing the call, oh, I guess the officials bet the money line on this team. I think that is in part a result of the Tim Donaghy scandal.
This is the legacy it leaves. So you have Astros. I have Tim Donaghy. EJ, greatest scandal and biggest scandal in sports history is what?
He's the greatest home run hitter of all time, but many want to put an asterisk by his name. And it wasn't just him. There were several other big athletes involved. So I'm going with Barry Bonds and particularly Balco.
Yeah.
That being the biggest scandal for us cheating in sports, because you had Barry Bonds, you had people going to prison. Barry Bonds' a trainer, Greg Anderson, had to do prison time because he would not rat on Barry Bonds and say whether or not he gave him steroids. Marion Jones, who initially had a very passionate denial of using steroids. She was a massive star on the track and field world. She had to go to prison. There's a great 30 for 30 on her. Jason Giambi was implicated by this. I mean, this really rocked the sports world because we went beyond just the normal, okay, guys using anabolic steroids. Now we're talking about HGH. We're talking about the clear and the cream, things
Yeah.
we've never heard of
The
before.
clear.
And the things that the lengths that were going through, the beat testing, and Victor Conti became a household name. I mean, that just absolutely dominated the news cycle, and still becomes a debate today because we talk about Barry Bonds not being Hall of Fame. A lot of people still think he should be. Some people think he should never get into the Hall of Fame. So I'm going with Barry Bonds and Balco being the ultimate cheating scandal.
Man, it was a big one. The cream and the clear, like
The
it's
car.
shorthand for, like, were they rubbing it on his thighs or something? I don't remember.
Marion Jones went to prison.
Went to prison. And
Wow.
again, there's a 30 for 30 on her time in prison and how that changed her life. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, Balco was big. Victor Conte, by the way, like never really went away. Kind of working with boxers and stuff now.
Wait,
Manny?
you're kidding me? Victor Conte
Yeah.
didn't go to jail?
No, I don't know if he went to jail,
Oh,
but he's
okay.
like still a figure.
Wow.
Yeah. Manny, you're on the board today. You want to jump in on this convo?
Yeah, sure. I will go ahead and say when you have the opportunity to cheat with a ticket to the Super Bowl on the line and you go ahead and deflate some footballs in the 2014 AFC Championship game, and when you're the GOAT as well, you end up winning that game, end up winning the Super Bowl. The Deflategate to me is probably one of the biggest cheating scandals we have seen in North American sports.
I mean, listen, Manny's not wrong. Tom Brady, 4-game suspension.
Court appearance.
Court appearance, that terrible
Yeah.
court drawing. The only person in history ever made Tom Brady look ugly was this court reporter. Must have been a Jets fan.
I
Good
got to
job.
admit, that is my favorite
Must have been
scandal.
EJ.
But there's no way you could argue that's the biggest scandal. That he took a little air out of a few footballs.
With a ticket to the Super Bowl on the line? Do it
Manny,
on that
Marion
game?
Jones went to jail.
Yeah. Barry Bonds had 73 home runs in a season. They were talking about a little air in the
No.
football.
I like, though, Manny, because it involves Brady.
And he had to destroy his phone.
Oh, definitely. What was in that phone?
I think you and I disagree. I think the Connor Stallions scandal is closer to Deflategate, where you have these wild characters who really don't fit. I just don't think it had that big an impact. I mean, Spygate was probably bigger than Deflategate. No, I mean, it was the biggest penalty the NFL's ever seen.
Yeah, the $500,000 fine for Belichick. I think $250 for the team and a draft pick.
I think, actually, to help Manny out, can we clump the two Patriots gates together and do Spygate / Deflategate?
No,
because you
'cause
know
Bel-
they're
I don't think
connected.
so.
Belichick claims he never knew.
But you know the NFL came down on Deflategate because they were still mad about Spygate. The owners were still upset about Spygate, and they thought that the Patriots got off too easy.
Right.
So they came down way harder on Deflategate.
Interesting. They are a little bit connected.
They're both really fun.
No, I think you got to separate them because, like Maggie said, one, you had Belichick kind of being the orchestrator, the puppet master,
Yeah.
and the second one, you allegedly had Tom Brady being the puppet master. And I think they're separate. I think you got to take them as two separate things. I can't lump them together.
Also, $1 million fine for the Patriots.
Yeah, it was $1 million. And the other thing, so I like EJ's because Bonds and Balco was such a big thing. But I almost feel like if you're going to say that, it's just like, what about A-Rod? What about biogenesis?
What about McGuire and Sosa?
McGuire and Sosa saved the sport, then, I think ruined the sport. The steroid scandal ruined the sport because the record books became a work of fiction.
I just felt like with Sosa McGuire, which those are two good examples, there wasn't a real moment to point to say, oh, this is where all the ish is hitting the fan. It was kind of like, oh, those guys hit all those home runs. We all celebrated. Then it was like, oh, Barry Bonds is hitting a whole lot of home runs too. Maybe guys are using steroids. And then there was kind of this murky question. They went to Congress, and Rafael Palmeiro does the I've never used steroids, period.
Pointing.
And then Sammy Sosa forgot to speak English, and Mark McGwire was pleading the fifth. And it just there wasn't like a moment until like
Roger
way
Clemens
later
was there, yeah.
when they finally said, okay, you know what? I did use steroids. And that was Mark McGwire. I don't think Sosa's ever admitted to it.
No, he's never admitted. I mean, the Mitchell report was maybe a turning point, and the finding the Andro in McGuire's locker was maybe a turning point.
I think there's two. The McNamee story went along with the Clemens and what's it?
That was Pettit.
And Pettit. That was very similar to the Barry Bonds, where you had this nefarious character who ended up going to, wouldn't rat him out. And then you have Lance Armstrong, too, which is maybe the greatest doping scandal. Well, and you have Russia, too.
So the thing about Lance, I was thinking about this. The reason why I didn't go with Lance Armstrong or Barry Bonds or something like that is because, I think, listen, Ken Caminiti, may he rest in peace, said, over 50% of guys were using steroids, right? So the fact that so many people were doing it, I think for cyclists, don't we think it's close to like 100% of guys? Now, Lance was a huge scandal, and not just because he was inspiration to so many people because he survived cancer twice, and then also he was so vindictive to people, getting them fired, ruining their lives when he himself was the perpetrator.
It almost, I was looking more at scandals in not lighter sense, but the Astros, for example, nobody really got hurt with that. Lance Armstrong almost ruined some journalists' lives, and he came after people so hard and hurt a lot of other bikers. So that has a real ugly turn to it. He was a cancer survivor and the inspiration. The hypocrisy there is unbelievable. Even way worse than Barry Bonds and McGwire and Sosa. It's funny how we view these. We know a lot of NFL guys have been caught with steroids, and they're all getting right into the Hall of Fame. Nobody cares what an NFL guy is, so we're so subjective.
I mean, even with Balco, we talk about Giambi, Bonds, and Jones being the two big figures. People forget Bill Romanowski was the other big athlete in there, and no one says, "Oh, Bill Romanowski his legacy with steroids kind of hurts it." I mean, his legacy is hurt by other things, maybe his antics on the field or whatever. But nobody even remembers that he was part of that.
It's so true, and that's why I didn't want to pick steroids, because I'm also not sure when exactly did the steroid era begin or end. Great know
question.
These, obviously you've got bonds and you've got court cases and people going to jail, but I kind of am skeptical about a lot of people and what they do to get on the field. Now, the other one we could have gone with is the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding, which was a massive scandal. I don't know, Manny, are you young enough? You too old?
I've read about it. I wasn't around on the earth for it, no.
There you go. Massive, because it was so against type. First of all, it's insane that somebody would actually do this and take a pipe to Nancy Kerrigan's shin in an attempt to keep, to help her biggest rival. But it was so against type because figure skaters are supposed to be seen as like graceful and glamorous and, just feminine and all these things. And the fact this ugly scandal would happen in that world made it outrageous. And Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan were so opposites. And Nancy was kind of like, at least portrayed in the media as like this upper class, perfect person, and Tanya Harding was more of a blue collar, had to kind of pull herself up by her own bootstraps kind of thing, fighting against the authority.
Yeah. It's another one where a scriptwriter would never believe it until it actually happened. Oh, so you're telling me the second best skater in America is going to take a pipe to the knees of the first one? Nancy Kerrigan was America's sweetheart.
Yeah.
People loved her. That had real legs.
And it was like the idiot boyfriend's friend.
John Gillooly.
Yeah, Gillooly.
John Gillooly. Yes. But then again, it was only figure skating in the Olympics. To me, I don't know. It's not a major sport. Sorry. It was a one-time Olympic thing, so I'm not sure it's as big as the other sports.
That was a time when the Olympics was massive, way bigger than it is now.
And don't forget, there was they were doing something with the schedule where, of course, obviously the Olympics is usually every 4 years. And for some reason, to get on a certain cycle, they made it every 2. So it was like back-to-back Olympics. It was only a 2-year gap between Winter Olympics that year.
Right. But there is a one-off feel to that where Tim Donaghy has impacted sports for decades now. And
it's seasons worth for Donaghy.
And steroids has changed everything. So the only downfall of that to me is it happened one time. It was bizarre. But was it, and we know what happened. The other thing about a scandal, I think you need some mystery too. And Nancy Kerrigan, that's all come out now. I didn't see the movie. Was that good? I know
It's
it got an
great.
Oscar nomination.
I, Tanya, excellent. The casting, perfect. Meanwhile, we want to hear from you. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. The biggest on the field, on the court, on the ice, on the pitch scandal in sports history. Again, Perloff going with?
The Houston Astros. Did that pick up on the mic?
I think so. Yes, I think Jose Altuve just hit another home run after you did that. I'm going with Tim Donaghy, EJ.
Barry Bonds and Balco.
Manny?
Deflategate.
What do you say? 855-212-4CBS, the biggest sports scandals in history on the field. We get to you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff. You can enter the great debate today, the greatest sports cheating scandal. We're talking about on-field stuff, not stuff that happened way away from the court and personal lives, which are always interesting too, but we're talking about cheating. I did the Astros banging the garbage can. Maggie, you did?
Tim Donaghy, the referee who was betting on his own games and potentially, fixing the outcome of games.
We got a Balco in the house. We got a Deflategate. We mentioned Nancy Kerrigan. You can call 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227.
So sad. Like, we laugh about it now. She must have been in so much pain.
Really? I don't know. We laugh about it now. Did it hurt that bad? Did she ever have surgery? What was the extent of the injury? I never even understood that.
No, I think it was major injury. I mean, she ended up competing, and I believe Oksana Bayul actually won the gold that year. Someone. Sasha, someone. I'm not sure who won the gold. Manny. Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. Biggest cheating scandal in sports history. Jeff's in San Diego. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What do you got for us?
The Black Sox, shoeless Joe Jackson.
It's a big one. It's massive. It's kind of like the granddaddy of them all, if you will. Jeff, thank you. The White Sox, influenced by gamblers, 1919 World Series. They lose the series, and sports gambling as we know it became the big villain of sports until very recently.
The 8 Men Out with John Cusack, Eighth Rothstein, the bad guy. Great stuff. And the funny thing is, that's the one we know about.
Yeah.
There's probably 15 other. It's a great scandal because we know about it. There are probably 20 other baseball teams back then. Back then, the rules were a little different in baseball. I think a lot of funny stuff was going on.
Titan fan is in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio or twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio about the Sonny Liston taking a dive. Now, that's never been proven that Liston take a dive against Muhammad Ali, but
if you're getting guys taking a dive in boxing, we're gonna be here all day.
It's a long list. Boxing probably needs its own subcategory. Hutch is in Sacramento. Good morning, Hutch.
Hey, so mine was the college basketball point shaving scandal that tanked a bunch of NBA careers, potential NBA careers. Can't remember the team, but they got hooked up with the mob kind of through, I think, like a third party, and they were point shaving. I can't remember the teams, though. Maybe you guys could fill in my memory.
Yep, sure. There's been a few point shaving scandals throughout history. Thank you, Hutch. The granddaddy, the OG, is probably CCNY, which is here in New York. That was one of the originals in the 50s.
Yes.
That happened.
That was a huge deal historically.
Absolutely. And then Kentucky was the other where there was a point shaving scandal.
Oh, I think of the two that I think of are Boston College because it was the guy from Goodfellas, and Arizona State was the most naked. That's the one, the documentary. They were moving, like Tim Donaghy, they were moving lines from all over the country. Because they had a season where they threw basically most of a season. So, we'll be here all day. College basketball is a sport that's been rife with this stuff for years.
The point shaving kind of through different eras. We've seen point shaving, which is why the movie Blue Chips is always so funny and great, is because they have every scandal possible all rolled into one movie. It's kind of like The Program, It's like every single possible thing that could happen happens to this team all at once.
What's the Kentucky one?
I thought there was a Kentucky point shaving scandal. Am I not remembering that right?
Maybe, I'm sure. But Kentucky did they have some other, they got the recruiting violations and they lost the program for a while. Was that point shaving or was there something else going on? Because remember they rebuilt under Pitino and Jamal Mashburn?
No, it was the point shaving scandal. Again, it was also, I believe, in the 40s and 50s. I didn't realize it was that old, but yes, they had a point shaving scandal as well. Let's go to Mike, who's in Albuquerque. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, guys. Lance Armstrong.
Man, what absolute, you-know-what piece of crap he ended up being, right? And it's crazy, Mike, because he was so inspirational. Who was not wearing a yellow Live Strong rubber band around their wrist? I mean, Lance Armstrong was everything, and it was like Lance was being persecuted because Floyd Landis was accusing him of stuff, and other people were accusing him and just trying to take down this American hero, Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. I mean, that was big in Perloff and I in our old life when we worked at SI, and it was all a lie.
Yeah, and he dated Sheryl Crow. Yeah. Let's not forget that important thing. He was a gigantic celebrity, and that's another great documentary. The Personal Demons went way back with him, too. We found out that he wasn't the hero we thought he was. He had a lot going on.
Incredible. Adrian's in Maryland. Hey, Adrian, how you been?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. What do you
Good
got
hearing
for us?
from you. Hey, I got Danny Almonte, Little League World Series. How crazy is this? You see a kid throwing, 70, 80 miles an hour in the Little League, and you're like, he's going to the series, and you find out he's got a bad birth certificate and things like that.
Yeah, he was he was amazing. Adrian, thank you for the call. This was one where you feel terrible because the center of it is a kid. Danny Almonte is not the one who...
He was 24 at the time. I don't know if he was a kid.
Yeah, sorry. So it was the adults around him who really deserved to get the ire, but it's his name and he's the one out there, but he was 2 years older than they were claiming him to be and probably a foot taller than everyone, too.
I was such a sucker for the Danny Almonte story. I was so into that team. I don't even remember what year it was. But I'll fall for a good Little League World Series team. And to find out that it was all fake was heartbreaking.
Devastating for Perloff. You never recovered from that. Okay, guys, keep them coming. So we've had, so far, I'm saying Tim Donaghy. Perloff is going with
Houston Astros hitting the garbage cans.
EJ's got Balco. Manny's got Deflategate. So far from you, we've heard Chicago Black Sox scandal, Danny Almonte. We've got Nancy Kerrigan in there, point shaving scandals. Bogish, do you have a personal fave?
I mean, it's hard to top the Astros. It's hard to forget about Balco living through it. So I think I got to stick with those two.
They're the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to throw...
You also lived through Donaghy. You lived through all of
but
these.
I love baseball more. Like, baseball is my thing. And I remember sitting in dorm rooms watching McGuire and Sosa hit home runs. Yeah. I wasn't tracking Tim Donaghy. You weren't live in the moment knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
Unless your name was like Boom Boom Sanders
from
Philadelphia and you had $1 million on the game.
I think that's a good point. Scandals are also defined by how much we bought into the original story. I was into Danny Almonte, so that hurt. McGuire and Sosa, I was so into that. Oh, are you kidding me? Cut into any play. To find out it's all fake later on is very disillusioning.
The Danny Almonte story was very personal for me because I was a young athlete playing youth sports, and one of the biggest things was... for me in basketball, this kid's playing in a 10 and under league, but he's 12 or 13, and that being a question mark. To see like something that we see kind of be a scandal in small local youth sports become a national scandal for me being in 5th or 6th grade during that time, that was insane in itself.
Well, you hear stories of like moms of football players where they have to bring the kid's birth certificate to games because no one believes that like young Jadeveon Clowney could have possibly been 10 at one point.
It's a huge deal. I remember in 7th grade, we got off the bus at Strathaven, and the guy who was covering had a mustache. I'm like, what's going on? He's at least 16 years old. But I do think it's not just youth sports. I think age is a big issue because We all think that there are other athletes in pro sports who lied about their age to look younger and get a bigger contract.
Definitely. And actually, it was after 9/11 where they started cracking down more on guys' birth certificates when they were coming from different countries.
Also, you have those scandals where a 27-year-old will pretend he's in high school. We had one of those a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. They pose like, hello, fellow students.
Yeah, he's like 26 and scoring 16 a game in Texas high school basketball. That's a dream of mine.
Just to go and relive your youth.
Yeah, I'm so much better basketball player now than I was in high school. I could kick butt right now, and I was terrible back then.
Well, if you are a punter or a kicker, you can be 30 and still be playing in college.
Yeah, I mean, college is one thing, but to pretend you're in high school, that's really where you have to. I couldn't play college, but I think I could contribute as a sixth man on a high school team.
College is nuts now because of the COVID year. There are guys who are 25 still playing
Lots
college
of them.
sports against 18-year-olds.
Like the guys who are going to win the Heisman.
yeah, that too.
Isn't Bo Nix like 30 years old and still slinging it for Oregon?
He's played in every conference.
Yeah, remember when Cam Newton and Bo Nix battled in 2010? That was an amazing game. Actually, they would have been on the same team. That joke didn't make sense. Go ahead.
Let me recap, I guess, the newest Michigan Connor Stallions nonsense. The school has apparently told the Big Ten that Ohio State, Purdue, and Rutgers were sharing the Wolverines signals ahead of playing them. We don't know, though, if that actually violated any rules, or no matter what, it wouldn't affect any possible punishment for Michigan. We also have running back Blake Corum denying a business relationship with Stallions. Only Connor signed the paperwork, but Corum's name is on the documents for an LLC named after Corum. It's registered in Wyoming, but has a mailing address in Ann Arbor. That address is a house that Stallions bought in March of 2022. Corum says his lawyers are on it, and he thanks whomever found it so that it gets figured out.
Wait, but the photo is weird.
There's also a photo, too, yes.
Of Corum in front of a camouflage-colored car? Is that?
Yes, it was camouflage.
Yeah.
But that's
and it says, like, thanks to my LLC.
Yeah. So, but he doesn't know them. Strangers. Never met him. As for football, Michigan is still number 3 in the CFP rankings. Committee Chair Boo Corrigan says the situation is not their concern. As long as Michigan's eligible for the postseason, they'll be considered. Ohio State, Georgia, FSU fill out the top 4 once again. I'm nothing if not a gentleman. Maggie asked for Robert Saleh on Trevor Siemian's future, so here it is.
Have you or would you this week consider bringing up Siemian to the regular roster?
No, not at this time.
But then couldn't really explain why not.
Yeah, this reminds me of actually baseball managers a lot when the front office or the analytics team is like creating the lineup and telling them, you know, which pitchers to go to in the bullpen. Then after the game, you're asked for an explanation and they really can't provide it because they don't really know why they're making these decisions.
Yeah.
This is what we call the Mickey Callaway around here. A little shorthand, a little inside joke for my Mets fans, but this feels like that for a football coach, which is rare.
Or does Zach Wilson know things? Like, is this like the Dan Snyder angle where owners didn't want to mess with him because they were afraid he was going to start to spill all of the secrets? Does Zach Wilson know stuff that they don't want to insult him, anger him, and he'll start sharing Jet secrets?
Maybe he's dating everyone's mom. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the issue, too, is going to Trevor, it's not like Carson Wentz is sitting back there. Or
Exactly.
Yes, of course.
Trevor Siemian is
immortal.
part of this issue. It'd be even harder to answer if there was a good backup. I think
What's the hard thing is to answer, why isn't there a good backup?
right. That is, to me, is the
why
question.
Is Tim Boyle, you know, who basically Aaron Rodgers wanted Tim Boyle so they could go to Broadway shows together. Like, you really could have had a good, decent backup quarterback.
I mean, Tim Boyle's basically an assistant coach, but I'm sure Saleh walked into Joe Douglas's office in week 3 and said, hey, are you going to get me somebody? And he got him Trevor Siemian. So you're right. I think your theory's the best.
I mean, it was kind of wild listening to Saleh, not just at the press conference, but then on local radio in New York having to answer for why Siemian couldn't play. And he basically had no answers.
I got you. No, it's again a fair question, and you know, it's like I said, he I don't know. You got me. I'm gonna plead the fifth on all this one in terms of just I kind of explained it, you know, respectfully, obviously, but they're valid questions.
It's amazing. You know, we just had like election day was yesterday. Imagine if he was a politician, he'd be sunk.
I mean, he literally said, "I'm gonna plead the fifth."
Yeah,
incredible.
So either Simeon's terrible, and he doesn't want to say that. And he's like, well, I've seen him practice, so he can't play. Or, I mean, I can't.
It's not that terrible.
He said plead the fifth.
Yeah, he backed away.
Plead the fifth.
I mean, it's got to be that he just doesn't have control over who's the starting quarterback.
No, he definitely doesn't.
That has to be it. Like,
that's 100% clear now.
It's either Aaron Rodgers or Woody Johnson.
It's Aaron Rodgers.
It's got to be someone else that has control, and he would. To me, that answer told me he would pull Zach Wilson in a second, but he can't, and he can't explain why.
It's Rodgers, because even if it's Joe Douglas or it's Woody Johnson, it's Rodgers. Like, I think Rodgers is that impactful in the organization. I'm sorry, Bogusch.
No, that's okay. On night 2 of the college basketball season, number 8 Creighton hammered Florida A&M 105-54. Number 20 Baylor rallied past Auburn 88-82 in Sioux Falls. Rick Pitino won his St. John's debut 90-74 over Stony Brook. And Ed Cooley won his Georgetown debut 94-57 over Lemoyne.
Oh, right.
Yes, the San Jose Sharks have finally won an NHL game.
10 seconds to go. Back to the near side. Sandheim down low. Konechny to the middle. Farabee the shot. That's a big save by Blackwood. 3 seconds to go. 2 seconds. Blackwood makes another save with 1.9 seconds to go. And a big scrum right in front of the Sharks goaltender.
Dan Rusanowski on Sharks Radio. San Jose holding off the Flyers 2-1 to avoid the worst start in league history. Win number 1 after 11 losses. Mackenzie Blackwood made 38 saves.
You felt in other games, maybe the other team will score a goal or two, and we'll kind of get down on ourselves, and that can't happen because, it's a long game, and anything can happen throughout the course of a 60-minute game. So I thought we did a great job tonight, and I'm proud of the team.
And really, another hat tip to the city of brotherly love, coming through again, allowing the Sharks to win and avoid having all that bad history to themselves. The Flyers are selfless.
Bogusch, you didn't mention that it got really tense in the last 10 seconds. How many shots on goal did they get?
Like 17.
Blackwood was going off.
Thank God Blackwood was standing on his head there at the end.
And you talked about it. You thought when they got him this offseason that was going to make the difference for them, and he's played well, but it's the guys around him that have struggled.
What's his name?
Mackenzie Blackwood.
Mackenzie Blackwood, that's a great name.
Former Devils goalie.
There you go.
Sounds like a name from like a hockey movie. Like that doesn't even sound like a real. Like you could have been playing like Goon or like Slapshot in that update. And I would have known.
Mackenzie's too spot on because the McKenzie brothers from Canada. But I was thinking Wendell Smallwood, former Eagles running back, when you said that. Mackenzie Blackwood. Can anyone here name another San Jose Shark besides Bogusch?
Absolutely not.
Current or all time?
Because all time I can get Joe Thornton, but then it gets tough after that.
I could give you one more with confidence. Thomas Hurdle.
Okay, here's another question. And I'll ask, first of all, the guys who operate the board, Manny can name any stadium. Manny, where did the San Jose Sharks play?
SAP Center.
Wow. Manny is a savant. He has this crazy skill where he can, and by the way, Manny, useless. I mean, totally useless skill of being.
Girls do not like it. They don't think it's very impressive. Believe it or not.
This is not working for you?
No.
Just get a dog. Manny can name where every NBA and hockey team plays.
And baseball. I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, more or less.
But not football?
The NFL's been changing. I know the Browns have just changed their stadium name not too long ago. The Bengals as well.
Right.
There are a couple of teams that have changed their names recently. I'll give you maybe the old name.
Manny is a savant, but only with certain parameters. Okay, Manny.
Don't give me any college sports.
How about Carolina Hurricanes?
That would be, what is that? PNC Bank Arena? PNC Arena?
How about the Thunder?
OKC Thunder?
Yeah.
That would be Paycor Arena, if I'm not. No. Paycom Arena.
Wow. I mean, if you had gotten that wrong, Paycor and Paycom. What's the difference between those two things?
But also, this hits Bogusch's weak spot. Can you tell me when the San Jose Sharks entered the NHL, what franchise they were before?
I can tell you that they were the first 8 seed to win in round 1. They beat the Red Wings very early in their existence in the playoffs.
It's just random facts about the San Jose Sharks. New segment.
They were the Hartford Whalers, I believe.
They were the Hurricanes were the Hartford Whalers.
Oh, okay. Then they were the Minnesota North Stars.
The Sharks were just the Sharks. The North Stars became the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
So
Bogusch was wearing a Hartford Whalers sweatshirt the other day. You're not going to get him on Whalers stuff.
I think
so it's an original expansion.
Adopt the Sharks as our NHL team now. Like, this is clearly not a bandwagon. This is the worst team.
Right.
We're starting the bandwagon.
Sports, maybe. Yeah, we're literally starting the bandwagon. It can only go up from here. And, we see in hockey, like, things can turn around fairly fast. And who knows? Maybe we'll be, live from the Stanley Cup in 5 years.
Do we need to know anyone who plays on the team to be on the bandwagon? Because if so,
I don't think so.
might be an
part of
obstacle.
the bandwagon is that you are a bandwagon, that you don't actually know really the ins and outs, but, you root for the wins and losses. And there's a lot of losses right now. So the fact that you're even jumping on it, I think, is a testament to us.
I think the one thing I know about San Jose, I think their color analyst on radio is Brett Hedican, I think. I think that's all I got for
Isn't there home field advantage or home ice advantage? Isn't it called the Shark Tank? Like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a great
I love
name.
that.
Yeah. All right, now we're on board.
Tanking at the Shark Tank.
There you go.
Writes itself. 855-212-4CBS. The question, thank you, Bogish. The biggest sports cheating scandal on the court, on the field, in the field of play, in the history of sports. 855-212-4CBS. We have more in moments. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Also, if he gets hurt again, his massive salary for 2025 becomes fully guaranteed. Thank you.
Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Ask yourself, are we the type of show that plays Rihanna? Yes, we are. Welcome, Maggie and Perloff, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Wednesdays means we do great debate series. Today, inspired by the news, and the news is Michigan's never-ending sign-stealing scandal. We are asking for the biggest sports cheating scandals in history, and we're going on the field here. Like, not Tiger Woods cheating on his wife. Like, that's a different kind of cheating scandal.
OJ.
No OJ. We're doing cheating scandals on the field. Like, for example, Perloff decided to go with...
the Houston Astros stealing signs and using a garbage can.
I went with Tim Donaghy, the referee who was fixing games in the NBA and was, making money for the mob. EJ went with Barry Bonds and Balco, the cheating scandal. Manny went with Deflategate. We want to hear from you. Adam is in Vancouver, has got a good one. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm very good, except I'm up very early in the morning.
Yeah.
This kind of led to some turmoil off the ice, or on the ice, sorry, but it was more off the ice. John Spano almost buying the New York Islanders when he was pretty much broke. Scamming his way into the NHL.
Yeah, he was, Adam, it's a good one. I think, did they make a 30 for 30 about this?
Yes, they definitely
I think so.
did.
Adam, it's great. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there, pal. Thank you for calling. Basically, someone who did not have the assets and did not have the money to buy a professional sports franchise was like hours from being able to buy it.
Oh, so I didn't remember how it ended. He never got it?
I think the agreement was there, but I'm not sure if he ever actually took over. I got to remember now. I shouldn't have been so quick on the trigger with Adam in Vancouver. Clearly, he had the details, and I don't. But he was revealed as like a swindler.
Yeah.
And they took the team away. Meanwhile, we've seen some other questionable ownership groups who we weren't sure if they actually had the money to cover all the expenses. That has happened a couple of times. Looking at you, Derek Jeter. Carla is in Idaho. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing great. What do you have for us on biggest cheating scandal?
Well, I just remember this. I was kind of a kid, I think, when this happened, and I remember it making a big deal. A big impact. But Pete Rose and his betting.
No doubt.
That seemed to be big.
Oh, Carla, huge. I mean, that was a great one. We could have easily made that one of our big ones because Pete Rose is still a hot topic today in some circles about whether he should be in the Hall.
Remember the Jim Gray interview that got Jim Gray in a lot of trouble with other players where he basically asked him about the scandal? That one has legs. How many years has that been now? 30 years that we've been debating should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. It comes up every year. And honestly, no one has profited off of that more than Pete Rose himself.
The best thing that ever happened to Pete Rose.
Because of that controversy. Carla, thank you for the call. I kid you not. I was part of an audience that got to see a sneak preview of a Pete Rose Broadway show.
No, I never heard of this.
Yeah, it's not out yet. It's good.
Was Pete Rose in it?
No.
Oh, it's about Pete Rose. Okay.
Yeah. Songs and everything.
Got it. Wow.
And I got the sense that me and maybe one or two other people were the only actual sports fans in there because there's a lot of Broadway people, theater people. Probably.
Yikes.
I was like, wait, do you guys know about this guy? You're kind of yada-yadaing over some serious stuff.
Yeah, I've never been tempted to see a Broadway show about an athlete. I know there's a Vince Lombardi play that Tom Brady went to. It feels like very hard to recreate sports on a Broadway stage. But I know the Damn Yankees is a popular play, but I can't imagine. How did they cover the action? Did the guy run to second base on the stage?
No, you'd have to sashay.
No,
you can't just run. You gotta pat a beret, step ball change, boom. Second base.
Were there pickoff plays? Like, how much real baseball was there?
Not a lot. They pretend, it's like you have a problem with people in sports movies not being good enough athletes, like the actors,
It's the worst.
Like you hate White Man Can't Jump because the basketball scenes are not realistic.
Specifically, Wesley Snipes was terrible.
Okay. Imagine that times 1,000 as a Broadway situation.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's like shadowy,
I will give the HBO show Winning Time, the basketball was pretty good. And even that, you didn't really feel like you were watching real basketball. But on a Broadway stage, I know there was a Bird Magic play, too, recently, within the last couple of years. I can't do it. I cannot watch guys trying to play sports on stage.
It was interesting. I was like, of all the things you could pick for a Broadway show, this is it. But anyway, I think it might get made. So we can go there all as a show.
How did it end? Did he get into the Hall of Fame?
I can't spoil it. It ended before his turn at Fox.
The other thing too. Have you ever met Pete Rose? He's not a Broadway type. He is a let's say salt of the earth is a nice way to put it. He is a
character.
He's not what I would call
a rough around the edges.
Sophisticated person all the time.
Well, that's his thing, though.
He's a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah, I mean, but that was his whole attitude while playing also. Yes, Pete Rose is a massive scandal. Again, we're doing biggest cheating scandals in sports on the field stuff. We're talking Lance Armstrong. We're talking Nancy Kerrigan. 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227. Coming up, so much to do, including a big, big debut tonight. We'll get to that. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. It is Wednesday, and around here we do the Great Debate Series, which is big debates based on the news, slightly. The big news of the week, and of several weeks now, Michigan sign stealing. You get another crazy twist and turn today with Blake Corum now, the running back, getting caught up. Did he have a LLC, a limited liability company, with Connor Stallions, the man in the middle of the sign stealing scandal? This stuff is getting more and more bizarre by the moment. So great sport, cheating scandals on the court. Perloff, what'd you go with?
I went with the Astros. By the way, Michigan's answering the NCAA today. It's going to be a big Michigan day.
That's true.
So Astros banging the thing. My reasoning being, we all got to when you actually get to see the scandal play out on YouTube, that makes it even better. There was video.
That is very much of the now. We get to watch the garbage can banging by ourselves. I picked Tim Donaghy. This is every fan and league's worst nightmare. Every time you get a bad call in a game, you think that referee, he's got something on the game. And it turned out Tim Donaghy really did have something on the game. And he was making millions. Well, he was probably making thousands, but also making millions for the mob and other places. EJ went with what?
I went with Barry Bonds and Balco. It was a massive scandal. Not just Barry Bonds, but Marion Jones and Jason Giambi. Victor Conti became a household figure thanks to the Balco scandal.
Also, good villain mustache on that guy. Manny, you decided to go with who?
I decided to go with Deflategate. I mean, I believe cheating in the AFC Championship game with the ticket to the Super Bowl on the line, eventually winning that Super Bowl, I think it creates a pretty big story.
Listen, Tom Brady, 4-game suspension. It will be part of his legacy forever. Let's welcome in our guest today. Joe VARDON is joining us from The Athletic. You cover the NBA. We're going to talk about LeBron. We've got Victor Wembanyama, so much, but you've been covering sports a long time, Joe. What do you think? Greatest sports cheating scandal? Who do you have?
Well, you guys named all the good ones. So since I still live in Cleveland, I'm going to recall when Albert Bell was busted for corking his bat.
Oh.
And at the time, Cleveland Indians reliever actually crawled through the aqueducts above the dugouts.
Amazing.
And then Jacobs Field to steal the bat.
That's
Amazing.
an incredible
That was
one. We
incredible. Yeah, that
forgot
was
about
incredible.
that.
Good pull. Good pull.
I mean, the back corking, we've got pine tar that we never even got to with the Royals.
Yeah, the one thing, Albert Bell, I think he might be involved in the Balco stuff as well. So I'm not sure why he needed to cork the bat. And Sammy Sosa might have one-upped him there because Albert Bell's bat never broke and showed the cork on TV.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That is pretty good.
You are welcome to weigh in 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You can also check us out on YouTube right now if you want, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio if you want to see Joe, if you want to watch us. I mean, we're tens. We say this all the time, best looking radio show in the country because the bar is super high. Joe, LeBron James, the whole idea about year 21 for LeBron was going to be minutes restrictions. We're going to save this guy until we actually need him. He's been playing more minutes than ever. What gives?
Well, I kind of blame myself for this.
Okay.
I was there opening night and was there in the press room when Darvin and then LeBron confirmed that this was the plan, that they are going to limit his minutes. 29 to 30 was said to be the target, which would be by far the lowest amount of minutes he's ever played. And I should know better, having covered him for as long as I have and having heard the minutes debate play out for as long as it has. I should have known better than to make such a big deal about it. But I took it. I wrote exactly what they said. I didn't add anything to it. I'm just saying this is what they said, and they're going to stick to it. And it lasted for exactly one game. Exactly one game. I should have known better.
So what is the expectation with the Lakers? If they're going to blow out that minutes restriction, are they still thinking this could be a championship team, and that's why we have to sort of go all out here?
I just think that they felt it was important to get off to a better start. Certainly LeBron felt that way. They lost opening night with him playing the 29 minutes, and the plus-minus with LeBron on the floor versus off the floor was really bad in the direction of trying to keep him out. And so they wanted to win the game at home. They've had a number of overtime games, and he's been playing way over 30 minutes. I mean, we're looking at 37. We're looking at 40. They need to settle that down. You know, I think there's been a few reasons. I said the overtime stuff. Also, Austin Reeves hasn't played up to what they thought that he would be able to give them. Jared Vanderbilt hasn't played yet because he's been hurt. And so I think they need those things to come online. I think if you look at the Golden State Warriors, the great start that they are off to, they've been able to limit Steph Curry to about 30 minutes a game because they have the depth and have been able to rely on some of the younger guys coming off the bench. The Lakers need to get there because LeBron, if you look at him the last 5 years, for as great as he's been statistically, he's missed like 110 games for the Lakers.
Yep.
And he's going to miss more if they can't manage this.
Can Lakers win the title this year?
Sure, they can. Yeah, I mean, I think
the West you just described, you didn't mention the Nuggets, the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's a really hard conference.
It's a very difficult conference, but also you get a healthy LeBron and Anthony Davis into any playoff series, they're going to have a chance. I think the Lakers are deeper than they were, and they have more cohesion than they did certainly last year. Is that going to be enough to get over on the Nuggets, who swept them last season? I mean, I don't know, but I'm definitely not the guy who says there's one or two teams. I think there are several.
Joe VARDON is joining us. He's in town because you were covering James Harden's debut with the Clippers. Now you're sticking around because Victor Wembanyama is going to be debuting at Madison Square Garden as he continues this incredible tour. We'll get to Wemby in a second, but another LeBron question for you, which is about the dynamic. Now, like he said, he wants to play with Bronny, his son. Now, Bronny has since had some health issues, so maybe that throws it into question. Then he does a headphones commercial. I realize we're all trying to move merch here, where they allude to the fact that Bryce might be the one he wants to play with. And Bryce is still, a junior in high school?
A junior in high school.
You've been around LeBron for a long time. You mentioned you're from Cleveland. You know, the dynamic of what that family is kind of really trying to accomplish right now is what?
Oh, my. Well, what they have accomplished to this point is remarkable. I think if you meet these children, and certainly we're going to get to know Bronny better than we have, he is a wonderful young man. And if you think about the spotlight and the pressure of being a member of the LeBron James family, and also how wealthy they are, and sort of the celebrity and all the things that could be involved with that, LeBron and Savannah have taught those children right from wrong. They've taught them respect. And when I think as we get a chance to meet Bronny, I think the world's going to see that. So I think that's really positive. When it comes to this idea of LeBron playing on the same NBA team with Bronny, I mean, there are a few things that have to happen for that to come true, including LeBron's health. You know, for the first time ever at the end of last season, he publicly hinted at a retirement. You know, it obviously didn't happen, but it was on his mind. So is he going to make it all the way until Bronny joins the NBA? I mean, we don't know if he'll be ready to do that this summer. And then Bryce, I mean, is at least, see, he's a junior, so junior, senior, and then that extra year. So he's at least 3 full years away. You know, LeBron he turns 39 in December, so he'd be what, 42?
Oh, boy.
That's bonkers.
And Joe, what's the deal with LeBron and the NFL analysis? Is this for real?
Yeah, we think that LeBron is just playing in the NBA so that he can continue his side hustle of breaking down NFL games.
He wants to take over Greg Olson's job at Fox. You're around him. Do you talk a little Cleveland Browns?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the last time, well, not the last time. I bumped into him in L.A. the day that the Browns beat the 49ers. And we definitely chopped it up there. I think one thing to keep in mind with the NFL stuff, his agent and close friend Rich Paul is now the head of sports for United Talent Agency. And so in addition to Clutch, which is all basketball clients, they have football clients. And so this is actually a business.
Wow. Joe Vardon is here with us in studio. He's an NBA writer for The Athletic, and we've been fans of yours for a long time, Joe. Wembanyama, I mean, we have a show bet.
Okay.
We should let Joe in on this.
Oh, boy.
Perloff said if Victor Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year, he would drive to San Antonio from New York, 27 hours, and hold up a sign in French apologizing for calling him Wembust-Yama. How likely is it that Perloff is making that trip? Because I think it's 100%.
Joe, no one this skinny can succeed in the NBA immediately. That's what I did say a month ago.
Well, I think I'd get that oil change.
Love it.
I'd get that oil change. Listen, I mean, I was there for the Summer League debut. He really hadn't played basketball in a month. He had a long season in Europe, and he was just kind of out of rhythm. You know, I think after this training camp that he's had and the start to this season, the only thing standing in his way would be injury. I am interested tonight. He's going to be here at the Garden, of course, but he's going up against Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson, who are two big physical bangers down low. And Victor, of course, is much taller than both of them, but he's very skinny. And this is going to be the challenge for him until he fills out is these bigger, stronger players. Can he handle the banging down low? So we'll see, but he's been awesome to this point.
I feel mean saying this, but I hope not. I hope that Popovich rests him and he doesn't hit the 65 games. So you were at the Garden for James Harden's debut, and this is not a question. More, I'm going to demand that you agree with me.
Okay.
There's no way this is going to work for the Clippers. There's one basketball, and there's 4 guys who need it in their hands, and you saw it Monday night in debut. You got Harden, Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi. Mm-hmm. There's no way they can figure this out. Ty Lue has the toughest job in sports, the coach of the Clippers.
So Ty, who is a wonderful coach, and I'm so happy that he has outlived the reputation of, well, he only won because he coached LeBron. That's not what people think about Ty anymore.
Well, the real reputation was Allen Iverson stepping over him, so I'm glad he's outlasted that, because now at least he's a champion, and we can move on from that, and now we'll move on from Cleveland.
That's right. But you're right. He does have a challenge certainly on his hands, but he knew this was coming. I mean, they've been talking about making this deal for weeks and months, really. He feels like he can do it. I thought the most interesting thing from the Harden debut the other night was post-game, Ty said that he ordered the ball into Kawhi Leonard's hands in the second half and then called Kawhi his best player. Now, we may all agree that that's true, But James Harden coming to this team, James Harden saying, I am a system.
Right.
And then the first night that he plays, like Ty kind of having to declare like who the best player is, it shows that there is a pecking order, and when push comes to shove, he is going to demand these other three guys at some level defer to Kawhi. Now, he did that in Cleveland. He did that with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. He demanded that they defer to LeBron at certain points. So he's done it before. We'll see if the same ask gets him back into a finals.
Joe VARDON with us for a few more minutes here, NBA writer for The Athletic. I got two more for you, just quick ones. One, you've been on the Team USA beat a lot, so you have been spending time with Steve Kerr.
Yes.
I'm picking up Last Dance vibes from Kerr for Golden State. And I think this is going to be, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Clay or what's going to happen, but I feel like I'm getting the Last Dance vibes because even he had said, Phil Jackson said you only have to have a certain amount of time as a shelf life for a coach. We're hitting that time here with Kerr and Golden State. And go out on top if they can win one more title. Curry, shuts the door on any kind of conversation between him and LeBron potentially because he would have 5 titles to LeBron's 4. I'm picking up Last Dance vibes. You're around him.
Yeah, I mean, he's 58. He's however many finals they've been to, and I know they've won 4. He feels good right now. He's in the last year of his contract. He wants another one, and he wants the payday that I think he deserves. He also said that if Steph weren't around and Clay and Draymond, that he would consider taking a step back. So I think it's interesting what you're saying. If they were to win this year, that would give him something to think about. He told me over the weekend, and I wrote it Monday, that he would step away from Team USA after Paris. So is he going to totally unplug? I think it's a stretch, but there, I think it's a good point and something that we should continue to follow.
Wait, Steph will be back, but is Clay coming back?
Doesn't seem like. I mean, they didn't do an extension.
Yeah.
So this salary cap stuff is above my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of money committed to some of these other players.
Last one, Joe. I know you had written a thing like oral history of Michael Jordan as an owner, right?
That was my colleague. But yeah,
I'm sorry.
Did that.
Like amazing that he was still potentially suiting up, like and would be there at practice when the team's going through like losing streaks. I mean, he never let it go. That's wild to me.
I mean, I think that is kind of the persona that has. One of the things that has enabled him to stay as far on top of this debate on who's the greatest of all time is just the sort of the maniacal drive that he had. That however many years later, I think his last game was in 2003, and however many years later that he still goes out there when he's worth several $1 billion and had the career that he had to still want to go out and play with these guys at practices.
Joe, take me into the living room of a young Joe VARDON when Michael Jordan rises over Craig Elo and hits that shot.
Don't do that to Joe. He got up early with us. He's doing a nice thing.
I was. Let's see. That was. I think that was an 80. Was that 89?
That was 89. Okay.
Or was it?
So maybe you don't even remember.
No,
that.
I remember it because I was in my aunt and uncle's living room in Coriopolis, Pennsylvania. We were there visiting, and the Cavs had it won until they didn't.
Coriopolis.
I know. I feel like Coriopolis is famous for something. IUPUI, something like that?
It's Coriopolis and Moon Township.
Yes,
the airport's right there.
Yes. Pittsburgh Airport.
Yes,
yeah.
right there.
Joe, this has been a delight. Thank you so much for doing it. Enjoy Wembanyama at the Garden. I have a feeling we might be hearing about that one later.
Oh, and text me all the stars you see. I think they'll come out for Wemby.
I would think so. I think a little bit better list than we had for Harden.
I was a little disappointed. Nobody seemed to care that James Harden. I was the third biggest celebrity in the Garden.
It's wild. I know. Everyone just wouldn't
Luis
leave you alone.
Guzman, Marcus Camby, Andrew Perloff.
That's right.
Listen, that's star-studded to me. Joe VARDON, you can read him at The Athletic. Does a fantastic job. Again, we've been big fans for a while, so thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was great.
Okay, biggest sports cheating scandal of all time. That's the great debate series today, 855-212-4CBS. And also, shame on us. We have not gotten to one of the biggest sports stories of the day. Our bad, everybody. We still have time. Stick around. We're back in just moments. We'll get that to you ASAP. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. I don't know.
Is there significance to this, man?
This is.
Aren't we about to talk about the Jets quarterback?
Well,
yeah, is he really, a New York athlete at this point?
No, definitely not. Hold on. We'll take a sec on put Frank Sinatra on ice just for a moment, because there's a story that we have not gotten to that needs our full attention.
What's that?
It's the Great Debate Series today. First, let me finish up with that, because Great Debate Series, we do this on Wednesdays. Greatest and biggest cheating scandal in sports history is our question for you. And we're talking about on the field of play. We're not talking about Tiger Woods cheating on his wife. That's different. We're talking about, things that actually impacted literally the playing field. So like Perloff, for example, picking the Astros, banging garbage cans.
Right.
Like perfect example. I went with Tim Donaghy, a rogue referee, we think, who was fixing the outcome of games and affecting the outcomes of games. EJ went with the Balco and Barry Bonds scandal, called into question everything with Bonds' home run record. Manny went with Deflategate, perfect example. AFC Championship game was Brady deflating footballs. Wesley is in Ohio's got a good one. Good morning, Wesley. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. What do you have for us?
Well, I think back to when I was a kid and living in Las Vegas when UNLV won a couple of championships due to their scandal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tarkanian ended up getting busted down to Fresno State later on, but Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon, Greg Anthony, I mean, they won back-to-back titles because of that.
Wesley, it's a great one. Thank you very much. The recruiting violations and the money that was paid allegedly. Do we have to say allegedly anymore? I think we know what happened, right? The money that was paid, the NCAA putting all types of sanctions on UNLV.
But which recruiting scandal do you pick is the problem, because there's about 20 other headline recruiting scandals.
In college.
Yeah.
This one has the fun detail of the hot tub photo with the booster sitting in the hot tub with all of those UNLV stars at the time. Felt like the smoking gun.
Right. But listen, there's obviously bigger ones because titles have been vacated. Well, actually, runner-ups, Michigan was vacated.
Michigan's vacated.
Because of Ed Martin, and Villanova was vacated in 71 for recruiting violations.
I mean, SMU got the
And
death
USC.
penalty. USC lost.
USC.
Lost.
SMU. Actually, I think SMU, you're right. I think that's the most noteworthy. UNLV's up there, don't get me wrong. But
No
I
doubt.
think SMU is probably the best documentary I've ever seen on cheating in my life.
Yeah, that was a fantastic
Because
one.
they were just driving the fanciest cars, wearing the fanciest watches. UNLV's close because they also had all that glamour.
Yep.
If you're going to cheat, go all the way.
Absolutely. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, before we get to Aaron Rodgers, we do have a big story that we have not gotten to, which is somehow, some way, Jason Kelce, center for the Philadelphia Eagles, has not been named like player of the week or maybe like lineman of the year or something like that, like best podcast of the whatever. People Magazine has named him one of the sexiest people alive.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Kelce, not Travis. No, not Travis. Not the person dating Taylor Swift. The other guy. Sexiest man. He's like a finalist for sexiest man alive.
I love it. Reward the big man. Cuddly. There's nothing not to like about Jason Kelce. If I was a woman, that is the kind of man I would go for.
This is the kind of man you'd go for?
Yes.
Jason Kelce.
I feel like people want to be with somebody big and cuddly and strong who'll protect you like Jason Kelce protects Jalen Hurts. He's the perfect man.
Okay, which one of these is not like the other? Pedro Pascal, Timothy Chalamet, Usher, Jamie Foxx, Lenny Kravitz. I mean, Patrick Dempsey was like the actual winner. This is like the guy who we all kind of agree is the sexiest man alive and has been for a long time, or many others.
We all agree on that?
Well, at least we can get there. Kelce? Really? I know we're celebrating all types of things these days, but sexy?
Yeah.
Funny, lovable, great football player. I can give you a lot of other adjectives. Funny podcaster, great storyteller.
This is the Kevin James effect. This is Kevin
right.
James going viral. This is the immediate effect of that. Now, Jason Kelsey, sexiest man alive.
I don't think the Kevin James going viral is that's a compliment for Kevin James. So
was that a good thing for Kevin James?
I think it was. I think people look at it like, oh, look at this guy. He's got so much swag.
Kevin James with a hunch over his shoulders.
Yeah,
like,
hunched over his shoulder, just like, yeah, what's up? Like King of Queens pictures, man. He looks like the coolest dude on the planet.
I always thought it was like sheepish, like, oh,
yeah,
it's like who me?
It was who me? I didn't do it.
I didn't eat the last cookie.
Yeah, I didn't eat the last cookie. I didn't know if that was swag. That's exactly what it was.
You guys aren't giving Jason Kelsey enough credit. He's a good-looking dude. Once I heard this news, I kind of looked back. Then he's
Jason Kelsey.
He's got the nice beard going, a little bit of gray in there, tall. He's a good-looking dude.
Yeah, I know.
A little gray in the beard, okay.
And compared to a normal human being, he's a decent-looking man. But I agree with Maggie. Sexiest man alive. I don't think he gets there on looks. I think it's the other qualities.
We got to have, guys, a high bar here.
He's also married to a Kylie.
He's not also number one, right?
No, that's Patrick Dempsey.
Right. So, I mean, he's on the list, not because necessarily a true top 10, but like
according to you,
he's serving some needs. Clearly, he's Manny's type. I would defend his place in this situation too. I get it.
No. See,
to each his own.
I just
you
showed
guys
Maggie.
are doing. I know what he looks like.
He's so unsexy.
You guys, you're doing likable. See, you're doing guy you want to have a beer with. You're doing. Oh, I think Jason Kelsey would be my friend. This is supposed to be sexy, like sex appeal. You want to sex up Jason Kelsey?
Yeah.
All right, Manny.
I'm with you.
You know,
I mean, look,
guys,
how many movies have we
type.
seen where we see Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James,
Grown-ups.
these comedians where their spouses or their girlfriends or their love interests are some of those beautiful women
Selma Hayek,
on the planet.
sure.
Yes, Selma Hayek, the Jennifer Lopez, they're Jessica Alba, and now it makes sense. Like we've been trying to push this agenda for a long time, like decades, where we have these men that maybe aren't conventionally attractive end up being with the most attractive people conventionally on the planet. Now we're bringing that right to the forefront with sexiest man alive, potentially Jason Kelsey.
It's so intellectually dishonest because if we did this for women, you guys, not you guys like in this room, but there would be an outrage. Not because women can't have different body types. We've been through that. But if you had an average looking woman in the SI swimsuit edition, y'all would have jokes.
Melissa McCarthy was the sexiest woman alive. Would we have issues with that?
Would you say something?
But there are. I mean, I don't think Jason Kelsey is ugly though. He's not unattractive.
Okay, but he's not a 10 face.
No, but I mean there are. But there were older women in the last SI.
Yeah, Martha Stewart.
Right, but Martha's still beautiful.
Okay, but I don't think she's top 1 million hot in the world. I didn't care but somebody else might have liked her.
Also, Martha Stewart was a really interesting choice for that. She's 80. I mean, I don't know who that was for, but.
Well, that's our poll. Who would you rather be with, Martha Stewart or Jason Kelsey?
Who's sexier?
That's a good poll.
Who's sexier?
It's a full menu. Some people like Perloff is right. There are definitely women who think that you're wrong in this, that Kelsey is sexy.
What is that movie or that joke where it's a Saturday Night Live skit where they talk about Travis Kelsey is hosting how fun it is to date somebody who can throw you up in the air.
Yeah, right. How women are sick of dating skinny guys.
Okay, let's put you on the spot, Maggie. You have to pick one NFL player, and your husband is listening, to put as the sexiest man alive.
It's Tom Brady. It's always been Brady.
Retired.
Back up Jimmy Garoppolo. Everyone knows this.
He's retired. Oh, Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jimmy.
The Jalen Hurts has been kind of.
Jalen Hurts is on
has been rising up the ranking.
Yeah, you ever
cover of Essence magazine.
Cam Newton's facial structure is flawless. There's nobody with
bone structure.
His bone structure is flawless. We did a best looking quarterback draft at the Dan Patrick Show. It was the most excited any of us had ever been, Freddie. I like when men are secure enough to talk about how good looking other men are.
Well, the quarterbacks are all good looking. It's like scientifically a thing where people follow good-looking people, and there's a reason why Jason Kelsey's a center.
Oh, so you're saying centers are not good-looking?
Well, they don't have to be.
Well, if he wasn't 280, I think he'd be good look. He'd be good looking.
He'd be Travis.
To be honest, I
Right.
don't. I think it's a little bit about like good looking, but that's a beauty in the eye of the beholder. I also just think the sexy part of it. I don't know if he rises to the bar. I think you guys are saying I like him. I think he's interesting. I could get a beer with him. I think he's funny. He's a bro. He's a guy's guy.
No, I'm saying that there's a population of women who that's the man they want to be with.
Oh, Bogus, there's a population of women that will want to be with anything.
Well,
I can find you.
But isn't that the point? Like that's why.
For People magazine.
I mean, is Jamie Foxx attractive?
Yes.
Is he?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
So is Jason Kelsey.
Congratulations, Jason Kelsey. What a time to be a Kelsey brother.
You know, he weighs 300 pounds. I can imagine, not to get gross on this, but I think it might be a bit intimidating to be in bed with a 300-pound man.
Nah.
There's certain things I would avoid doing. if I was a small,
you mean, like maneuvers?
I don't know, 300 pounds. He's a big dude. I'm looking at pictures here.
Top 3 things I wouldn't do with Jason Kelsey.
That dude could crush you, right? I mean, I'm saying that guy could cause some real damage there.
I'm sure he has a waiver for you to sign.
An NDA,
Yeah.
is most likely. Where were we? Biggest cheating scandals. Andrew Bogish is here with the headlines. Good morning, Bogish.
Good morning, everybody. The Big Ten's expecting an official response from Michigan by the end of the day. This part of the process of the conference telling the school it might have violated sportsmanship policy. As per Connor Stallions, the Big Ten not expected to release any findings or punishment today. Meanwhile, no changes among the top 8 in the CFP rankings this week. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, FSU to start, with Washington and Oregon next in line. The Titans, though, they made their change official yesterday. Will Levis, their starting QB, the rest of the way. Head coach Mike Vrabel explains.
There's clearly something there. You know, we want to be able to continue to work with them and progress and develop and win, and that's how you get better. You know, you only get better by going out there and playing, especially at that position.
Tannehill, or I should say, what about poor Ryan Tannehill?
A lot of respect for Ryan, personally, professionally. You know, we've won a lot of football games here with Ryan, and certainly, disappointed. I'll keep that conversation between him and I, and allow him to speak for himself.
He cried. Tannehill is almost all the way.
Or through a chair or something.
All the way back from his high ankle sprain, which got Levis on the field in the first place. Zach Wilson remains the Jets starting QB. The Cardinals removed Kyler Murray from the PUP list yesterday, the last procedural move before making his season debut this weekend. And Carson Wentz has a job again. He'll back up Matthew Stafford in L.A. The Rams expecting Stafford back from his thumb injury after this week's bye. Brett Rippon released yesterday after doing nothing in place of Stafford Sunday at Lambeau. Kansas men's basketball coach Bill Self signed a fresh 5-year agreement yesterday. He basically has a rolling deal. It's a lifetime contract. This version makes him the highest paid coach in the sport. Self will apparently make $13 million for this season, $53 million over the 5. On the court last night, number 8 Creighton began its season with a 105-54 rout of Florida A&M, and number 20 Baylor topped Auburn 88-82 in Sioux Falls. The Bears were down 8, closed the game on a 22-10 run. The San Jose Sharks will only share the worst start in NHL history. They beat the Flyers last night 2-1 for their first win in their 12th game. The Ducks' 6-game win streak ended with a 2-0 home loss to the Penguins. The Flames have their first back-to-back wins of the season, a 4-2 decision over Nashville, and the Lightning 5-3 winners in Montreal. 29-year-old rookie goalie Matt Tompkins gets his first career win, and we again finish with the MLS postseason. Orlando City finished off a 2-game sweep of Nashville SC 1-0, but Atlanta United stayed alive 4-2, so there will be a decisive Game 3 in Columbus on Sunday. Guys, back to you.
Wow, kind of a slow night in sports there, Bogus. I have to be honest.
Get me to tomorrow.
Yeah, you're doing the Creighton, Florida A&M results in November. You know that not a lot was going on.
What does the A&M stand for? Hey, I got nothing.
Actually,
why are they in Sioux Falls?
When you said that, I said, is that the one that was in the Final Four last year? No, that was another Florida.
That's
school.
Florida Atlantic, yeah. A&M is the Rattlers? They have a cool nickname.
Yeah, Florida A&M Rattlers.
Right?
They're the one with the band back in the day, right?
Yes.
No, the FAU is the Owls.
Right.
College basketball is crazy. I'm not ready for it. I can't consume it in November or December or
Maybe
January.
January?
Oh, come on.
Call me February 10th, and then I'll start to. You're going to see me hustle watching a lot of ESPN. Come on, don't come on me, EJ. You think anybody cares about college basketball before
Auburn
March?
Baylor was fantastic yesterday. That was a great game.
Wait, which one?
Auburn versus Baylor. That was also in Sioux Falls. That was at the Pentagon, which is what they call that place, by the way.
Yeah.
What the heck is EJ talking? EJ just had a stroke. What are you talking about?
Great game.
Yeah,
Baylor has a potential top 10 pick.
I know. I love your NBA draft enthusiasm. It's so 1997.
I was born in 97.
It's going to come in handy.
We're going to need you big time in June, dude.
Jacoby Walter. I was all on him last night.
I thought the NBA draft no longer drafts college players. If you are bad enough to go to college and not the G League in Europe, then do you still get drafted?
No, there's plenty of other college players. Yes, last year was a kind of an anomaly. I think this year there's only a few guys I think that will be top 10 that didn't go to college.
All right.
Maggie, you with me,
I
right?
can't wait.
I mean, Maggie, you have to be with me, right?
No, this is the sad part is like I sometimes will pay more attention to high school than I will to college.
Me too.
That's not a good sign.
McDonald's All-Star Game, count me in.
We're always
Creighton, Florida A&M, I'm out.
It's something about this job where you're just always looking, what's next? What's next?
It's very much a what's next industry.
855-212-4CBS. Bogus, thank you. 855-212-4227. Speaking of what's next, we're still taking your calls on the biggest cheating scandal on the court of play, on the field of play, cheating scandal in history. This is inspired by Michigan and what they're going through with their sign stealing scandal. Also, getting to know the lesser known quarterbacks in the NFL. Perloff and I get put to the test next. Do not move. Maggie, Perloff, and you, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Maggie and Perloff. Great debate series today. Biggest cheating scandal in sports history on the field. You are welcome to call in 855-212-4CBS. I said Tim Donaghy.
I went Astros. EJ?
I went with Balco, Barry Bonds.
Deflategate.
There we go. So we got you covered here on some recent ones. You're welcome to weigh in again, 855-212-4CBS. Now, we noticed something going on in the NFL, and I'm sure you noticed it too, which is basically half of the league's quarterbacks are injured. And there are so many backups and people we have never heard much about before this season. So we decided to make a game out of it. EJ's got a couple trivia questions. We'll see if Perloff and I can get it right. This is a getting to know your backup quarterbacks in the NFL quiz.
I'm so curious what direction EJ goes. Is he going to give us personal information? What's their favorite meal? Is it football related? Anyway, no idea what's coming here.
So we've got, 3 questions, EJ? Will quiz us on our backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, we got 3 questions here, and I actually try to even simplify it for you guys. So I'm going with backups who have actually had to start this season. So you don't even got to go to guys who haven't played yet. Guys who have actually played in real games.
Like that guy, the Rams just cut a man named Dresser Wynn. If you'd done that, I would have no idea.
So let's begin with this quarterback. He received just one D3 offer before deciding to walk on at his Big Ten school where he finished top 5 in career passing yards.
It's a backup who is a Big Ten Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is correct.
All right.
We don't have a ding for you guys.
So by the way, Aiden O'Connell walked on at Purdue. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's a walk-on there. He only had one D3 offer.
A D3 offer? That's crazy.
I think it was a mustache. Teams were scared away.
Okay, let's go to the next quarterback here. So this QB followed in his brother's footsteps. His brother won a Texas State championship in high school before playing at North Texas. I didn't get to answer the question.
Perloff, look at you. You are the backup quarterback meister.
Yeah.
So Clayton Tune was the answer. I was going to finish that. He threw 40 touchdown passes in his final year of college. So Perloff is like Ken Jennings here. This, backup quarterback.
Maggie will tell you, this is my genre.
I know. I'm a sitting duck in this. I don't even have a shot.
I feel really bad.
Clayton Tune, Hebron High School. Home of Jamal Adams, I believe. But go ahead.
Texas, yes, a big Texas school. So I'm nervous about this last one. I feel like Perloff is on a heater
Perloff,
here.
let him do the whole question.
Sorry.
Yes,
I thought it was Jeopardy. I hit the button too soon. I would have gotten blocked out. Go ahead.
Okay, so this backup QB got offered a spot on Alabama's roster as QB3 to back up Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts before being told to take a chance on a Pac-12 school where he was named Offensive Player of the Year.
What? Pac-12 player, offensive player of the year. He's a backup quarterback in the NFL right now. Pac-12. Oh, wait a second.
Well, I'm going through now I have to go through the teams. Who?
He was third.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
That is incorrect.
He's not starting this week. So by the way, okay.
I said it's guys. I'm not saying if they're starting this week or not, but there are guys who have played this year.
Guys who played this year.
They came into the season as backups.
Oh, this sounds easy. So I'm thinking it was Gardner Minshew.
There you go.
Wow.
Perloff 3 for 3. Gardner Minshew. Yes.
Washington State.
Nick Saban told him that he wanted him to be his QB3, and it was the late Mike Leach who told him, do you want to stand around and hold a clipboard or do you want to play? And that's when he went to Washington State.
That's a crazy story when you think about it. I feel like we remembered him a little at East Carolina. He kind of wasn't he on TV a little bit, but even before he got to Washington State.
Well, Minshew, I mean, just because the jean shorts, the mustache, all the weird, whatever he does in the locker room, wearing just a jockstrap or whatever.
Yeah,
the calisthenics. Sorry,
he's an oddball.
That's
pretty
public
good.
knowledge. I don't think I'm portraying any confidences there.
That is EJ, you're gonna have to go way deeper to get me on a backup quarterback. I know more about the backups than I do the actual quarterbacks.
Just a Maggie. I think
this is a quiz for me, so thank you. Now I know Clayton Tune's brother won a high school championship in Texas. What am I going to do with that information? I have no idea.
I do know a random amount about Clayton Tune, but if he walked in right now and said, "Hi, I'm Clayton Tune," anybody could walk in. Do you have any image of his face whatsoever?
No.
So if he came in for a job interview, like the resume, you've been like, "Oh yeah, I know this guy very well.
Yeah.
Great, great credentials." He would have walked in, and you would have been like, "Who are you?"
This is like the Tonight Show and late shows used to do this, where they would have fans ask them, like, who's your favorite player? And they'd be like, Matt Harvey. And they didn't realize Matt Harvey was asking them the question.
Oh, that's funny.
Silly.
That's funny. Yeah, try and picture when you say Clayton Tune, the image in your head. I think of Kevin Cobb, but I don't have a real name.
Yeah. When I think of Clayton Tune, I actually think of just Aiden O'Connell.
And I actually think of those cool white uniforms the Cardinals wore last week. Those are awesome. Now, if they can play up to that uniform, it'd be better.
Well, Kyler Murray coming back this week, which is a mistake. Let's get to,
Yeah, why was there no Josh Dobbs question? He's the most fascinating backup quarterback we've had in forever. A rocket scientist, can win anywhere. You call him Batman.
Do you see NASA was tweeting about him?
Oh, yeah.
This dude's going to go to space.
I think EJ didn't put him in there because he views him as a starting quarterback now.
I think he views him as a savior. The guy's a superhero.
I didn't want to go with Dobbs because we talked so much about him. So I was like, let's go with guys who we kind of haven't mentioned. We haven't mentioned Gardner Minshew maybe ever on this show, at least in the weeks I've been on here.
No.
Clayton Tune, Maggie just did a whole thing about, Kyler Murray. So I figured you would have forgot about Clayton Tune.
Yep.
Aiden O'Connell, we talked about a little bit. I thought that was going to be my easier one. I didn't think Clayton Tune would be the one that I couldn't even get the words out for.
Well, we thought of this quiz. I immediately thought you were going to give us a deep dive on Josh Dobbs. But you're right. We have been talking about him.
Yeah, everybody knows he's an astrophysicist. Everybody knows everything about him. We've learned so much in the last few weeks.
He's a starter. He doesn't belong in this conversation.
He's a savior. He's not a starter. He's a
He's
savior.
a superhero.
He learns a playbook in just minutes, not even in between commercial breaks.
Your quarterback gets hurt in the second quarter. Josh Dobbs is there by the third quarter.
Dark Knight, he's the hero that we need, not the one that we deserve.
So true. Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. And today's shot of the day comes from an unlikely candidate for People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive, Jason Kelce, apparently Perloff's type.
There's nothing not to like about Jason Kelce. If I was a woman, that is the kind of man I would go for.
This is the kind of man you'd go for?
Yes.
Jason Kelce.
I feel like people want to be with somebody big and cuddly and strong who'll protect you like Jason Kelce protects Jalen Hurts. He's the perfect man.
Okay, which one of these is not like the other? Pedro Pascal, Timothy Chalamet, Usher, Jamie Foxx, Lenny Kravitz. I mean, Patrick Dempsey was like the actual winner. This is like the guy who we all kind of agree is the sexiest man alive and has been for a long time, or many others.
We all agree on that?
Well, at least we can get there. Kelce? Really? Wasn't his name McDreamy? Patrick
from
Dempsey? Right.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. Yes, that's.
No, I've been seeing the pictures go around. The man is sexy. I'm not going to take that away from him. But Jason Kelce, you make it sound like he's ugly or something.
No, it's not that. He's definitely not ugly. It's like, I guess, sexy teddy bear thing.
You're right.
Which is, that's certainly a type, for sure.
Sexiest teddy bear alive.
That's a different magazine for a different group of people, I think. The Bears, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Great debate series, biggest on-field cheating scandal. Nadal is in Dallas, has got one. Good morning, Nadal.
Good morning. How are you guys? Your biggest Chiefs fan in Dallas. Been a long time.
How you been?
I'm good. I miss you guys. Hey, so just to give you context on what I'm about to offer you. So in the early 80s, there was a big war between Argentina and England over the Falkland Islands off the southern coast of Argentina. It ended before the 1982 World Cup. Diego Armando Maradona, arguably one of the best, or arguably the best of all time in soccer and football, took it upon himself to stare down head to toe that English national team in the semifinals of the 86 World Cup. And he just vowed to win that match by any means necessary. Well, yeah, he found a means. The hand of God, the infamous hand of God goal. He leapt so high, and he was, 5'5", 5'6", I believe, listed height, playing height. He listed so high up against the indomitable lion Peter Shilton, the goalkeeper of the English national team that day. And he said God inspired him to use his hand, to punch in the goal. And the referee supposedly didn't see it, whatever. Everybody saw it. The Argentinian teammates saw it. The opponent saw it. Peter Shilton saw it. Everybody. But the goal was allowed. And lo and behold, that led to the victory. And it was, it is. I mean, as we all know, football is number one sport in the world, and in the World Cup, when something like that happens, a big cheating scandal like that happens, it's a tremor. It's a major earthquake. So that's what I have to offer.
Fantastic call. Great to hear from you.
Yep.
Perfectly told story.
Although he didn't cheat,
notes.
the official missed it. So
Said he didn't see it. Right.
Argentina will go on to win the World Cup that year.
Awesome PS there by many.
Kind of knew that, but okay.
Thank you.
Saw the Beckham documentary.
Loved it. You guys are awesome. EJ Stewart, thank you. Manny Rodriguez, thank you. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan and Andrew Bogish and the Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers and the callers. You guys are awesome. We'll see you tomorrow.